So who likes tier lists? And holy shit, I've got my work cut out for me. So this is just a little stupid fun idea I thought I'd try out. I kind of want to rank every single super that's in Marvel 3. There's like 150 of them. I just think it's interesting trying to compare each of these character supers because, you know, for some characters it's like a combo ender. Other supers will have more like neutral use. Some might have a little more utility. And I just think it'd be fun to kind of compare and contrast to see which supers are kind of like better in some regards compared to others. This will obviously just apply for every like standard super every character has. If it costs a bar, if it goes into like a little cinematic camera angle, that's all that really is qualifying for this. Most characters have at least 2 supers, so this is going to take a fucking while, but might as well just start off. This is going in chronological order from Capcom characters and then Marvel characters, so this is going to take a minute. So let's see, Akuma Beam Super. This is a good one. Honestly, this is definitely one of the best Beam Supers in the game. He just shoots a shit ton of fireballs either on the ground or in the air, and if you hold down the heavy button, it straight up becomes a full beam, kind of like Ryu's. This super just has a shit ton of utility. The air version goes at a 45-degree angle, so it's really good at sniping assists. It's also really good at just covering a spot on the screen that's really hard for a lot of characters to like interrupt them or hit at. And even just in terms of combos, like this thing just does it all. The standard version, if you're not holding down heavy, it's mashable, so you can do more hits. If you land that super mid-screen, it just links into the ground beam super. And the same goes for the version in the corner. If you land the super in the corner, the multi-fireball version, you have enough plus frames to actually like link a jump S and then just land on the ground and then just Tiger Knee the beam super. So regardless of where you're landing the air super, whether it's like mid-screen or in the corner, you can just very easily guarantee 2 supers with Akuma and easily kill a character without even like needing X Factor. So this super is just a great means of damage, great means of chip. It's very quick. It's like 6-7 frames or some shit like that. But I think it's just a really good, solid A super. You really can't go wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with just throwing out neutral. It's really hard to punish. So yeah, we'll just keep it there. Asatsu Goshoryu. I think it's a B. I think it's a pretty solid DP super. It has a good amount of invincibility, so Akuma can just use this when he's on defense. The nice thing about this DP super is that you have plenty of time to confirm into X Factor during it, because it does 2 reps of the Shoryuken before going into the final uppercut, and during that second rep of the DP, you can just X Factor and then just like go for your standard like Akuma B&B combo. The super doesn't do as much damage as this Fireball super, and it's also a lot harder to like DHC into and out of, since you can't get every hit if you want to get all the damage. But I mean, it's still a pretty good super for what it is. It gets you out of, dangerous situations. So I think B is a solid place for that one. Raging Demon. There's always been kind of a gimmicky level 3 for Akuma. It's good. Vanguard super, teleports, 3 forwards, cross 3, full screen. And if it grabs you, then it just does a shit ton of damage to you. I mean, the knockdown's kind of cool because, like, if you're quick enough, you can get a Tiger Need air super and tack on a little extra damage. But the motion's still a little awkward, so it's really hard to, like, buffer this out in a block string or when you're, like, on defense. The most utility I've seen this super get is out of a teleport, because you can cancel into this super out of his teleport. So you can do some kind of gimmicky things where you cross the opponent up on the other side and then go right into the Raging Demon. And if you're close enough to the opponent, then they're not going to be able to jump out of it. That's like one of the only few edge cases I've seen Demon work in this game. It does good damage for what it is, but I don't think it's like as ubiquitous as like his level 1 or his Fireball super. So I'll just leave it at C. It's cool, but I think it's a C. Alright, moving on to Ammy. Okami Shuffle. Good super. Ammy just jumps into the air and throws a shit ton of elements at you. I think every element except for the fire one hits off the ground. Honestly, the biggest point that this super has in its favor is that it's one of the best THC supers in the game. So if you hit both assists, every character in your team will do their supers at once. And with Okami Shuffle, this super lasts forever. And if you have a character like Doom, whose supers don't take nearly as long, you'll just have plenty of time while Ammy's filling the screen with like garbage that you can just lock the opponent down and go for a mix-up and force them to block high, low, grab, whatever the hell you want to do. This super is fantastic for setting up what's known as follow my lead, which is just putting the opponent in that scenario that I just described. And that's situation, it's very, very good. But otherwise, it's a pretty standard level 1. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but the follow my lead is just very, very strong. I think that alone is enough to put it in A rank. Veil of Mist, also A rank. It just slows down the opponent. You don't have to combo into it, Ammy can just do this anytime she wants. It doesn't last super long. I think it'll last like 3 or 4 seconds, but that's all you really need in order to like get your bullshit out. If you just launch the opponent down with like a jump S, set up a paper, force the opponent to block, and then put up the Veil of Mist. You can raw tag into your character. If you want to do some cool, like, unique combos on a slowed down opponent, you can. But most of the time, it is just a matter of like forcing the opponent to guess whatever nonsense that you want to put on them when they're slowed down. And being able to do that whenever you want, even in neutral, like, this super is pretty quick. You can just throw it out, even like full screen, because you can do this in the air as well. It's very, very non-committal, ultimately. You can just kind of do it whenever. It's also a great DHC super, both into and out of. It's a great way to get Ammy out, and it's a great way to bring Ammy in. So yeah, no, this is a good super I'm putting today. Level 3, it's fine. It's pretty bog standard combo ender for Ammy. This is pretty much the only time she really uses this super. It's fine, does decent damage. You can't really combo after it or anything like that. The range is kind of whatever. She does like this big arc in front of her. It's fine. It's mostly just there for damage, and you know, that's about it. Which is an area that Ammy is otherwise mostly lacking in, because she doesn't really get she doesn't really kill characters with her combos. She's mostly like there to be a good anchor. So yeah, the having this super just be a good damage ender is fine for what it is. It's a good beat. Arthur Beam Super, Goddess Bracelet. He throws a series of fireballs at the opponent, but the nice thing about it is that Arthur is actually able to jump during the super. He can jump forwards, backwards, neutral jump, which gives him a little more control over the screen. He can kind of just like fill the whole bottom half with these fireballs. And if the opponent's blocking it, then they're just kind of stuck there. They have to deal with the chip. And the nice thing is that even on hit, if you're full screen, you're plus enough so that you can just link another one of these supers. And if that hits, you just link another one, and then link another one, and then link another one. Like, if you really want to spend like 3+ bars just doing this super over and over again, you can do that. I think it has a little bit of invincibility as well. I think all of Arthur's supers actually have some amount of invincibility, just to offset the fact that he has like no defense otherwise, unless he's in like armor. But yeah, no, I think Goddess Bracelet's a pretty standard super, kind of slow, but it does good damage. You can mash it for more hits. But yeah, otherwise it's fine super. Golden Armor, easy A. I'm kind of tempted to put it in S. It basically improves all his special moves. All his special moves get buffed. They do more damage, they get more properties. His crossbows homing on the opponent, his projectiles get more durability. All of his assists also get buffed when he's in Golden Armor state, which is the big buff I think that the super has. A lot of Arthur players will literally just like start the round with Arthur, do Golden Armor because it's invincible. I think it's invincible for like the first like 20 frames or something like that, and then immediately raw tag out, and then just spam projectile assists. They have a lot of durability when he's in Golden Armor. So it's really easy for him to just barrage the opponent with the Golden Armor lances. They do absurd chip and really good damage. But even outside of that, the Golden Armor is just a really good super to have on Arthur. It gives him a defense buff, and it gives him an attack buff. The big problem, obviously, is that it's on a timer. And as soon as that timer ends, he's forced into a knockdown, and you put it into his boxers. If you're facing an opponent who is savvy enough to know that you're about to get knocked into your boxers, they can just combo off it. If you're fighting like Wesker or Doom, like GG's, like if you lost your armor against them, you're just getting hit. But yeah, but if you keep Arthur in like an anchor character with Golden Armor, this is a really good super. It's one of the better install supers in the game. And for 1 bar, it's invincible. I think that's a pretty good spot for it. For the Princess, Arthur's level 3. It's one of the few non-cinematic level 3s in the game. It's pretty good. I might put it in A, to be honest, because it's non-cinematic, it actually hits assist characters. So if you call out an opponent throwing Doom missiles out there, you can just pop a level 3 right then and there, X Factor, do whatever you want, because even as soon as Arthur does the super, even when he activates X Factor, the super's still going to be going on. So he can also throw more projectiles on screen or pressure the opponent down further to try to get like a mix up. Now, it hits off the ground, which is nice. He doesn't have to do like cross or go back light. He can just go right into for the princess and just kill an opponent. So yeah, I think that's fine. On the Viper. Emergency combination. This is actually a really good super. This shit is so invincible. I hate it. Yep, it's completely invincible for like 36 frames. Most of the time, Viper's just gonna be going for like EX Thunder Knuckle to plow through the opponent's bullshit. But if they see that the opponent is blocking EX Thunder Knuckle and they think they're gonna get punished, they can just cancel that EX Thunder Knuckle into emergency combination and then just punish the opponent's attempted punish. So Viper can just steal her turn back for, you know, potentially being unsafe into her own super. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but in terms of that, like, neutral use, you literally just, you can just get the first 2 hits X Factor and then go for a kill from there. I think, I just don't really see it apart from that. I guess B would probably be a better place for it. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. Alright, burst time. This is Viper's main combo ender. It hits off the ground, does a seismo, and then just does a bunch of twirly fire kicks in the air afterwards. It does really good damage. And the nice thing about this super is that you have a really, really long time to DHC afterwards. If, for example, you want to get like every hit of Doom's Spear Flame super, you can wait until the opponent nearly touches the ground and then go right into Spear Flame and you'll get every single hit. So this move is fantastic for DHC team synergy, especially if you use it as a THC, because if you have this super as a THC, no matter what team you're rocking, you're always going to hit the opponent off the ground at the end of your combo, which is very, very useful. I might just put it in A because it is really, really useful. Yeah, good super. Viper's level 3, I don't know, man. It's invincible. It's really hard to combo into, though. I think it just doesn't have enough active frames for what Viper usually does for her combos, like her juggles. It's really, really tricky to actually land this super, which is the biggest nail in the coffin for it. Like, even when you think you're gonna land it, it just whiffs. It's really bizarre. That's the biggest problem with it. You can't. It's hard to combo into, and you gotta just go into like burst time or even like emergency combination, and then like X Factor from there to get a kill. And Viper usually doesn't have trouble killing anyway. She's usually just going into like her EX moves to get more damage. So she can easily go into EX Seismo or EX Burn Kick to just get rid of the opponent. So she really doesn't need this level 3, but like it's just a shame you can't really use it more. So that's why I put it in C rank. I don't want to put it in D rank, but no, I think C is fine. Yeah, I'll put it in D. You never see it. Chris, what the hell is this super called? Grenade launcher's okay. You know what? I'm gonna put it in B actually. The super's really weird. Chris fires an ice round at first. He throws a grenade launcher into the air and then fires a series of grenade rounds at the opponent before the final air round lands on the opponent and blows up. That ice round hits off the ground, but if it hits off the ground, the rest of the super doesn't combo. It just like whiffs, unless you like specifically set it up. I think Chris can do like a light DP and then go for the grenade launcher, and then all the hits will probably connect, or he has to use like certain assist extensions to get the rest of the super to connect after that OTG. But if you can get all the hits to work, it's pretty cool, and you can actually combo after it. Usually you want to go into like a flamethrower, into combination punch, and then into like a sweep combo. Another interesting thing about this super is that the round that he fires into the air, that's always going to land no matter what. If that thing goes off, and even if you hit Chris out of the rest of the super, you have to make sure that you block that grenade round that's still falling, because regardless if you're comboing him, that thing's gonna land. That's a nice little like bit of insurance that Chris has, even if he like misses this super, like even if the ice round hits off the ground and the rest of it doesn't connect, as long as that second shot is in the air and the opponent doesn't realize that they still have to like block it, then Chris is gonna get some damage regardless. So I think I'm gonna put it in C in that regard. I think it's like okay. Sweep combination. This is like the only super you see Chris do. Pretty standard combo ender. The funniest thing about the super is that how like, depending if you've already spent your ground mounts or not, there's always this section of the super that misses. I think it's the SMG rounds. If you already spend your ground mounts with like an air magnum or something like that, that part of the super just misses completely. The rest of the super will still combo and play out normally, but you will miss out on like a little bit of damage if you had already spent the ground mounts. But I don't think that's usually a big deal because Chris likes spending the ground mounts on air magnum anyways, just to set up for like flamethrower for meter build, so we can actually build the bar to do the super and actually like get a kill. But otherwise, yeah, it's just pretty standard combo ender. So yeah, I guess it's fine. Yeah, B is fine. Satellite laser. I don't mind this super. I like that it's another. This is level 3. It literally just like sets up big ass laser. You can actually control the reticle with the stick. Just go left or right, and then if you just hit an attack button, Chris will fire. None there. You have to keep like mashing it in order to get like all 3 sets in, and then like you get all the damage in. And it does pretty good damage for what it is. It's good. I mean, it hits off the ground because it's a non-cinematic level 3. This hits assists very well. So if Chris manages to get like the first hit in the match, hits the opponent's assist, and just X factors, does a basic air combo into this level 3, like air magnum into ground magnum into the satellite laser. That assist is dead easy. Yeah, otherwise it's just a really, really weird super. I'll leave it at C. Alright, Chun-Li, we got Kosho. This is a pretty standard projectile super. Good damage, you can mash her for more hits. She can only do it in the ground in this game. You can't really use this to like win Fireball Wars, like other like projectile supers in the game. This is mostly just a way for her to end combos. I'll just put it right here, I guess. It's an okay combo ender. Ryokuzin. The big thing about this super is that it is invincible. This is her wake up super. If you see an opponent do something that they're not going to X Factor out of, you can just do, of course, go back to PX or 2 attack buttons, and she'll just blow right through it. And then the last hit is super jump cancelable, and you can go for like an air combo after the fact. Otherwise, it's like okay. She'd rather usually do like EX spin bird kick if she wants like a better invincible option. Like obviously this is more range than like EX spinning bird kick. It's whatever. It's fine. Shichisei Ranba, I think. Her level 3. It's fine. I think this also hits assists, or at least the first half hits by hit assists. Because it's like non-cinematic at first, and then it gets into the cinematic portion. It does decent damage, and it's not too hard to combo into. Pretty much any combo that will any combo that will end in level 1 can also end in a level 3. I mean, you still have to be on the ground in order to do it. And Chun-Li really would rather be in the air, and it's kind of a shame that like all of her supers cannot be done in the air. But I mean, otherwise it's fine. It's a whatever level 3. I don't think it's that spectacular. All right, $1 million, easy S tier. This is a fantastic level 1. You can just throw this super in damn near anything. This is probably the single best DHC super in the game. You can mash it for more hits, more damage, and the last hit, or the second to last hit, will always put the opponent in a tumble state, which means they will be slowly free falling towards the ground. And if Dante X Factors or DHCs before that final hit, the opponent will stay in that free fall state. So he has all the time in the world to like teleport, tag out, DHC another character, set up some crazy nonsense. It's a very, 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 very good super to just throw out there. It does good damage, good chip, and it's an easy S rank. Easy S tier. DT, also a really, really good install. It regenerates his red health, and it also gives him a couple new moves. It gives him Vortex, gives him Air Raid, gives him Thunderbolt. The Vortex is a good anti-projectile move, which lets him go through things like Doom, Photon Beam pretty well. It doesn't give him any new mobility besides that because he already has the double jump and the air dash. So it doesn't get anything new when he's DT'd in terms of movement. Unless you want to count like the flight and cycle crusher. The only problem is that you don't build any bar in this install. And that could be an issue if he's an anchor character. Because what a lot of times you want to do is Dante is like, you'll instinctively pop DT, just get that more damage and that red health back. But if you're not building any bar, you're not going to have enough meter to go for like $1 million to actually end your combo worth the damn. And since Dante's damage scaling is like some of the worst in the game, you really want to end your combos in $1 million so that you can actually cash out some damage. This is definitely a super you want to like pull off when you have at least 2 bars, in my opinion. But otherwise, it's still a really, really good install super. Devil Must Die, very, very good level 3. Literally any combo that will end in level 1, you can end in level 3. If you're quick enough, you can also get a dash up 3H into THC, which will then cancel into $1 million if he's the only character or if he has 2 characters on the team. You can also combo off of it if he lands a super raw. You can literally just like do like dash up Volcano or dash up 3H, and then like just do whatever he wants from there. That's not as practical as it just being like a super, super easy level 3 to combo into overall, and there's really nothing wrong with it. It's just a good, solid level 3. Felicia, Dancing Flash. Super's okay. She rolls into a ball, attacks the enemy. If she hits the opponent, she goes into a cannon animation where she'll do a bunch of like cat swipes and end an uppercut. It's fine. You can mash for more hits. It's a little awkward to DHC out of because the cat uppercut sends the opponent pretty high, and unless you have a super that will like hit that high up, it's a little hard to like get all the damage of this super and then DHC into someone else. But otherwise, it's fine. I'll go ahead and speed. Kitty Helper. Love this shit. She summons one of her sisters, and it's always going to hit overhead. So she can literally just like summon Kitty Helper, hit any attack button, and it will come in as a really, really slow overhead. She can also mash lows during it, so she can just do her own like little set of unblockables on her own terms. It's hard for the opponent to like deal with this because they can't push block the cat, and it's immune to projectiles. Very, very good super. So I think this is Please Help Me. This is just a pretty standard level 3 ender for Felicia. Does pretty good damage. You can mash it for more hits. She basically just calls in one of her sisters from off screen, and depending on the button you hold when the sister's coming in, it can actually change where they're going to appear. So if you hold L, it's on the far left side. If you hold M, it's on the middle. If you hold heavy, it's on the right. But the only way you're really comboing into this thing is from like a ground bounce from like her air delta kick. I didn't know about this until reading up on it, but you can't X-Factor cancel this move on whiff. So this super is actually very, very dangerous to throw out there in neutral. As like a call out to like your opponent doing shit. It's definitely easier just to like combo into it naturally from Delta Kick. If you want, you can actually link a Toy Touch afterwards, and if it started with combo, you could like do a very, very short extension after that. But otherwise, it's a pretty standard level 3 ender. I'll throw it in B. It's fine. Moving on to Firebrand, we got Dark Fire. There's really nothing special about this super. It hits off the ground, does okay damage. Think you can mash it for more hits? You're really not using this for anything else other than, like, you know, you can get the inv combo and maybe going into a DHC. For what it's worth, it's whatever. You can go and see. Luminous Body. This is another really, really good install in the game. It's one of the few installs that you can actually build bar during it. Firebrand just becomes white, and it just gives him speed boost primarily. And if you combine that with like X Factor, you're just zipping around the whole fucking screen. Yeah, it really doesn't do much other than the speed boost. But, I mean, that benefits Firebrand so heavily considering how mobile he can be, like, in the game as it is. And especially if you, like, stack this along with, like, X Factor level 2 and 3, then your move, honestly, yeah, it's still, like, a really good install. I'll throw it in, like, A. Firebrand's level 3. You never see this shit. Basically, Firebrand just, like, summons a little mini clone of himself, and depending on the button you press, he'll do, like, a different attack. He can shoot like a fireball. He can do his heavy DP move, and he can do a medium DP missile. It's fine. It's very expensive for what it is, but I think I know why they made it so expensive. Because like if you were to combine this super along with like Luminous Body and X Factor, this super would be like a humongous problem because Firebrand can just fill the screen with bullshit. Considering the cost of the super as it is, there's really no reason to go into it when you're better just like go into Luminous Body and like do whatever you want from there. So I'm just gonna throw this into D. Like, you can do some damage with this thing, you can get a lot going on with it, but there's really not much. Like, it's really not worth it considering you'd rather just go into like, you know, a damaging level 1 or like, you know, a chaotic like install super. Like, there's really no point. Frank. This is Frank's blue light special. It's a pretty standard OTG super. Can't mash it for more damage, but it's a great way to just cash in damage at the very end of a very basic combo. This super is also really good since this is his THC super. Regardless of your team composition, you can just hit both assists, Frank will hit him off the ground with this, and your second character can potentially have their super still going on, which will give Frank enough time to maybe get a few pictures in. So this is really useful for Dante. Like if you just have like a THC with blue light special $1 million, that's a really easy way to just like do score knockdown, THC, snapshot, easy level 5 Frank. But otherwise it's kind of like a fine super. It's not really doing much else besides that. There's not much else to it. Survival techniques. This is his standard cinematic combo ender super. You mostly go into this super after taking a snapshot with the opponent, and depending on the level that Frank's at, it does more damage. Level 1 it's kind of standard, but at level 3 and 4, when he gets to added like weapons and chainsaws and shit, it does way more damage. So level 3 and 4, this super actually becomes invincible. If you don't just feel like using barrel roll to get out of situations, you can just use this super as a reversal. And it does do more damage in its level 3 and 4 versions. It's Frank's main combo ender when he's done taking a picture, so I'm just gonna put it in B. Funny Face Smasher. This is a super that Frank only gets when he's at level, I think, 3 and above. It's an anti-air grab. Throws a Cerbot head on the opponent, spins him around, and then switches sides with them on the ground. You can spin the stick to do more damage with the super, and you are left plus enough to get a snapshot afterward, then potentially heavy DP, and then hit him off the ground so you can just get a combo after and get more levels. Side switch might not be ideal, but the super is actually fantastic. Anti-Phoenix tech, if you can set it up right. Frank can like kill Phoenix with like, you know, blue light special, pop Phoenix, X Factor, do roll, and then immediately go for the Funny Face Smasher, and it's like the cool shit in the world. But otherwise, it really is just a pretty standard anti-air grab super. Just throw it right there. Oh, yeah. Frank's got some decent supers. I think that can only go to B. This is, I think this is Rapid Fire Fist. This super is really interesting because I feel like it's one of the only supers in the game that's like actually affected by hit stun decay. So if you land this super, you can mash it, and the more punches it does. And he ends it by doing a giant ass ground bounce. But if the combo is too long, the opponent will just fall out of the last couple hits, leaving Haggar punishable. So what you want to do is just mash the buttons as quick as possible, or as much as you can, and then like before like the second to last hit, you like DHC into your next character, and then go into their super, and then go into the, like another character super after that. And getting the most damage out of this super can be pretty tricky in terms of timing, but it does do a lot of damage if you properly mash it. You can tell by just the glint in his eye that you're doing the mash version. The super is also invincible. If Haggar ever just whiffs Lariat and you think you can punish him, he'll just say nah. He can go right into rapid fire punch, smack you in the gut for trying to punish him. This is a good super in his kit. He does this super raw, the starter combo. He could easily convert into a good air combo series and just get some good damage off of it. So I think it's a pretty solid A right there. Giant Haggar press. This is a combo ender for Haggar. This hits off the ground. You normally see this whenever he does he'll do drop kick with pipe, and then cancel the startup of pipe into this super to hit the opponent off the ground. It actually does multiple hits, but you never see the multiple hits. Most of the time you only ever get the last hit, which hits off the ground. The only time you're ever going to see the multiple hits of the super is if you like do a launcher and then like go right into this super. And that's like the only time you ever see like the multiple hits of this move. But it's not like it adds that much damage, so it's not really worth going for. You're better off just like, you know, doing a basic ass Haggar combos and then just ending it with the body press. It's fine. He's not invincible at all during this. Despite how dangerous he looks during it, you can actually just like hit him out of it. You can do like your own 5S, your own like dedicated anti-air move or DP or whatever, and win clean out. It just looks a lot scarier than it actually is, but it is a pretty standard combo ender for him. So I'm just gonna throw it right there. Alright, Haggar level 3. Command grab super. This shit is scary, where you can spin the stick for more damage, but otherwise it's just a pretty standard level 3 super. It's very quick. I think it's post-flash unblockable, meaning like if after the super freeze, if you're not already jumping away, you're just gonna get grabbed easy if he's like close enough to connect with you. But otherwise, yeah, it's a standard command grab super. You don't see it too much, but when it hits hard. So I can throw it into, yeah. That's fine. Hsien-Ko. Chirito, this is she just summons a bunch of spears from the ground, and they travel across the entire screen. If you manage to hit the opponent, like the edge of the corner, you can travel them along the ground for a good amount of hits. That's the only way you're really going to get a lot of damage from the super is mid-screen. Otherwise, like if you land the super in the corner, its damage is very, very minuscule and not really worth going for. So I'll put it D. It's not the worst super in the game, but the damage is not really what you want most of the time. Like even if you were mid-screen, you feel you can get more damage out of this super, Tenreiha. This is a more reliable OTG super. She just drops a bunch of spike balls on you. You can actually loop this super multiple times if you like manage to do a light gong into Tenreiha, and that way it actually cancels out the ground bounce that the super is normally supposed to apply. Once the super ends, you can just repeat that process, do a light gong, and then go right into Tenreiha, and then do another super, and get a little more damage out of it, especially in the corner. Unfortunately, the steel balls are kind of random, so the damage of the super is like not super consistent. It's still the most damage you're gonna get out of any Hsien-Ko combo, or at the end of any Hsien-Ko combo, but the number of hits and the amount of damage the super does is better than Chirito, but it's still not incredible. So that's why it's going to go into C. Rikomon is definitely the super that you think would be the best tool in Hsien-Ko's kit. This is a super that gives her hyper armor. Literally, like, she'll just shrug off attacks. She doesn't flinch from anything. However, it's got a few issues. So she can still get grabbed. Obviously, any grab will still connect with her. And if a grab connects with her, she is put in hit zone, and you can combo her easily. So even though she has high armor, there's still ways to combo her. Any command grab, any hit grab, any move that puts her in a capture state will interrupt this super, which is really unfortunate. Also, this move makes it so that damage scaling does not apply. If you were to land a super on her or any move on her, it'll actually end up doing more damage, because the game is calculating every hit as the first hit. Every single hit is doing the most amount of damage it can do. If you just hit like a raw super against gold Hsien-Ko, that is going to do way more damage than if you were to just hit regular Hsien-Ko with that super. It's not good. Or the biggest upside that this super gives you is that this install applies to her assist. So if you manage to put this install on and then immediately tag out Hsien-Ko, you can just summon assists with hyper armor, and that's very strong. Her assist, where she comes in on a pendulum and just swings across the screen, that can just blow through a lot of shit. Unfortunately, she is still very susceptible to taking a shit ton of damage in this state. So you still have to be careful with your assist calls. It's a very unfortunate super. You'd think having hyper armor would be like, a godsend, but the way it works in this game is it's not perfect. So it's gonna go in D, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a really unfortunate super. All right, Jill, machine gun spray. This is one of only 2 ways that Jill can hit off the ground. It's either this and her light DP like hit grab that she has. The super is okay, it does decent damage. The way you're gonna get the most damage out of it is if you do a flip kick into it. Flip kick into this move is a guaranteed way to get all the hits, because especially if you're in the corner with the opponent and you try to hit them with this, a lot of times you'll just get like the first couple of hits and the rest of it will just whiff. So you kind of have to like plank dash backwards or wave dash backwards a little bit and then go into level 1 if you want to get all the hits of this super out in the corner. But otherwise, yeah, you want to just go into like flip kick and then this super, and then you should be able to get all the hits just fine. And it does have invincibility on startup, so you could use this as a decent reversal. And it's honestly a pretty good super. I'll throw it right there. That's fine. Raven Spike. This is a cinematic level 1. She kind of just hits the opponent a lot. I think it does slightly more damage than machine gun spray. The range is a little worse though. You don't really see this super a lot. It doesn't have any invincibility, but I mean, it's fine, I guess. Mad Beast. It is 2026. And I still don't know if this super is good. This her level 3 super. Basically what she does is that she enters this like install state where she can't move normally. She like dashes across the screen with these like kind of teleports. She can cancel all of her special moves into her other special moves more easily, as opposed to having to do like feral stance cancels. It's weird. I don't know. I don't want to say it's weird to say it's like untapped, because this game's been out for like 15 years, and I don't know what you can do with this super that you can't just do with Jill normally, because Jill on her own can do a lot of cool shit. She doesn't even need this level 3. She can just somersault her way through most of the problems in this game. You throw the super out if you're a Jill specialist and you want to style on the opponent. And I guess there's value in that. And there's value in trying to make it work. I'm not going to speak for its effectiveness. I don't know how to use it, but I'm just gonna, you know, here, I'll put it above Akuma. These tiers don't matter, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, because I'm not gonna say it's useless. I just don't know what that use is. Oh Christ! Here's Astrovision. Yeah, that's Astrovision. You are never not gonna see anyone put this super lower than, you know, top 5, because this is one of the most annoying supers to deal with in the game. Morrigan creates a clone of herself, and it just copies everything she does. And it goes in the opposite side of the opponent, and if she throws a punch, it throws a punch. And it can add damage to her combos. But that's not what you're using it for. You're using this super to flood the screen with fireballs. You are using this super in combination with flight and unflight, fireball, Solstice cancels, to drench the entire bottom half of the screen in nonsense. And it is a nightmare to deal with, and it sucks because Morrigan still builds meter even in this install. Again, it's one of the few install supers where she builds meter, and in combination with her Soul Steal, she builds meter very, very quickly in this super, which means every time she does it, she's almost guaranteed to build another one, possibly 2, and just keep the cycle going over and over and over again. And if she's got Doom missiles, she's got Vergil assist, she's got Phoenix, Chun-Li, she's got anything to keep the opponent at bay while she's in Astrovision, you're not playing the game. But she is, and she's having a ball. It's easily one of the most impressive supers in the game, and it is easily top 5 supers, without a doubt. Finishing Shower is fine. This is Morrigan's projectile super. She just fires a bunch of missiles from her wings. It's a little slower compared to a lot of other projectile supers in the game. You can steer the missiles if you hold up or down, which is pretty novel, because you can actually link out of this super mid-screen and in the corner if he hits the opponent in certain ways. Like in the corner, you can pretty consistently get either a TAC or a jump S after the last hit, and which is a great way to set up Astral. If you get a knockdown, then you can just set up, you know, more bullshit after that. But this super is it's fine. It doesn't do like a ton of damage. You're not using this to zone. You're going to be using Astral to zone now. This is there if you just want to, like, you know, if you really need to chip out the opponent quickly, or if you're going to kill the opponent who has very, very little health. So it's okay. I'll put it in B. Shadow Servant is Morrigan's only means of hitting the opponent off the ground. She just summons a bunch of Shadow Morgans to uppercut the area in front of her. And if you hit this mid-screen, it gets most of its damage. It is also her, one of her only invincible moves. It's this one in her level 3. But this is her cheapest invincible move. She can actually link this super after her level 3 as well to squeeze a little more damage. The damage for the super otherwise really isn't that spectacular because Morrigan isn't scoring a ton of knockdowns. It's nice that it's invincible because, you know, giving her an option to get the opponent off her is good, but it does leave her very, very minus to its block. So I'm just gonna put it in C. No, I'll put it in B. It's good for what it is. Darkness Illusion. This is a good level 3. It works on the ground and in the air, so even on incoming, you can just say no to your nonsense and just immediately level 3 you. This super goes at like 3/4 screen about, so it's just a really easy get out of jail free card for Morrigan. She can just throw this out just to put herself back in neutral, X Factor cancel, which puts her in a perfect position to set up her projectile wall all over again. Especially if she doesn't like meter to put in another Astral. And if it hits the opponent, she gets a lot of damage. And if she really, really, really wants to, she can, you know, again, go for Shadow Servant and get a little more damage after that. It's mostly used as a get out of jail free card or as an air combo ender to kill the opponent. I think it's a great level 3. I'll put it in A. Nemesis. Biohazard, no, brush? What is this super called again? Bioweapon Assault. Super's fine. This is mostly just Nemesis's like primary combo ender. He shoots a rocket at the opponent 3 times before launching into the air and then jumping on them and causing a forced ground bounce. It does decent damage. It sets up for DHCs pretty well. There are times, depending on the opponent's position, that like 1 or 2 of the rockets will just like whiff, and if you hit them like in really, really wrong spots, like say if you only get like the 2nd hit of a rocket and like miss the 3rd one, then the opponent can actually just fall out of the super outright and just like punish you for going for the super. So you really want to make sure that you can manage to get like the 1st and 2nd hits, or the 1st and 3rd hits of the rockets. That way the final hit can actually land, and that you don't just like die. But most of the time that usually doesn't happen. As long as the opponent is like, you know, flat on the ground, you should be good. It really is just a standard combo into though, so it can just go and be. This is Biohazard Rush. Nemesis just like does a bunch of punches across the screen. It goes about like maybe half screen, 3/4 screen. The big gimmick with this super is that it has super armor. If the opponent tries to like do something to hit Nemesis out of this, he'll just shrug it off. This super really isn't used that often because in juggles it's pretty inconsistent. Especially on like, you know, bigger characters. If you get like, sometimes you get like 1 or 2 hits of this super, and then the opponent can just like fall out, again leaving Nemesis just punishable. You'd rather just like go for like a normal air combo ender and then just go into the rocket launcher super as opposed to this super. The armor is nice, but I think you can hit him out of it after enough hits. I think it only has like maybe 8 or 10 hits of armor or something like that. Not like hyper armor, like even like Rikomon. It's just kind of like, you know, a whatever. Level 1. I don't know. I think it might do more damage than Bioweapon Assault, but I'm just gonna throw it and see. Nemesis level 3 is not great. This is a command grab that has way too much startup. The opponent can see the super flash, or see that Nemesis is doing the super, and preemptively jump, and then they'll just avoid it every single time, which is, you know, the big nail in the coffin for any command grab super, let alone one that costs 3 bars. I mean, if you do manage to land it, it does decent damage, and it leaves the opponent in a hard knockdown. It leaves them enough time to actually link the rocket super afterwards if you really, really want to get more damage out of it. Honestly, if you just land the super against anybody, they should just give you the game at that point. It's crazy that, you know, for a level 3 command grab, that they made it as slow as it is, and that's like the biggest, most damning thing about it. He'll always have this. Nemesis will always have the rocket super, and we'll just leave it at that. Alright, here we have a Steel Samurai Maya Smelting. This super is pretty alright, actually. Phoenix just sends Maya out, and she just kind of tumbles her way through whoever's in front of her. Maya actually has a surprising amount of durability in this super. She can withstand a lot of attacks outright. It's not a bad option for Phoenix to just throw this out there if he needs to create some distance. If you manage to kill the opponent with this super, it actually gives Phoenix extra time to dig up evidence. A lot of times you might see Phoenix player, or a Phoenix Wright player, that might be playing another character, and they'll do a super, and then right before it kills, they'll DHC into the Maya super, and they do that so that they can have extra time to gather evidence, so that they can actually potentially get into tournament mode. Or one of the big downsides with this super is that since Maya's out, Phoenix can't put out Maya shield, and he can't do any of his course forward moves. While the super is out. He can't do Maya shield, he can't do the trip. The damage really isn't that great. He can link after it, or during it, because he can act first before Maya finishes her thing, and that can set up an unblockable, because the last hit of this super is a low. If he manages to hit this on a quartered opponent, he can actually hit his 6M on the same frame as Maya's low, and do a solo unblockable. That's a great way to open the opponent up and get a little more damage. But this super is doesn't have like the most damage in the world, but I think, you know, for what it is, it's pretty good. Order in the Court, I think, is a good level 1. This is completely invincible, and it hits off the ground. This is just a great get-off-me tool. The big gimmick with this super is that it actually discards all of your bad evidence in your hand. If you just have really, really shitty RNG, and the opponent's really bothering you, you can go into Order in the Court, not only to get them off you, but also to automatically discard all of your bad evidence. It does put you back into investigation mode after it's done, so most of the time Phoenix will just like roll back into place and immediately set up my shield and try, you know, gathering more evidence again. I mean, honestly, it does good damage, hits off the ground, and hits assists, which is really useful. So I think it's good. Ace Attorney is a very, 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 very potent super, provided you can get it out. Phoenix has to be in tournament mode in order to even have access to his level 3. But if you manage to get into tournament mode, this is, I think, the most damaging, well, second most damaging level 3 in the game, apart from Vergil's. It hits everywhere across the screen, like it hits the entire screen, hits off the ground, Doesn't matter what the opponent's doing, it's very, very quick. It's like a better version of Magneto's level 3. And Phoenix just hits you for like 500,000 damage, or like 400,000, 450,000 damage. It's absurd. And it does put him back into investigation mode once it ends. So you want to save this super for like the very last bit of Tron Bonne mode, or if you're about to kill your opponent's last character, because otherwise you'll just get right back into investigation mode and you'll have to build back up to Tron Bonne mode. You don't want to do that more than once in a match. If you get this super, it's very likely that you're winning that game. So I mean, like I said, the only downside is setting it up, because you have to get the RNG in order to get into tournament mode, and you need to hit the opponent with Bridge to Turnabout in order to even get into tournament mode. But I mean, if you can manage to get there, it's a fantastic level 3. It's just not as easy to hit. I might put it in A just because it's not super easy to like gain access to. But it just does so much damage. So my heart wants to put it in S, but realistically it is more like an A super. Just because like you're not going to be able to land this all the time, especially as Phoenix, right? Alright, Hsien-Ko Hadouken, the Searchlight. This is a good super. It's very, very similar to Akuma's. He just fires a big old beam out in front of him. You can actually angle Ryu's beam if you hold up or down, depending on the version you do with arrow K. You can either fire it straight up if he's on the ground, or straight down if he's in the air. And the air version, straight down, is Ryu's only means of hitting the opponent off the ground. So which means he's going to be doing this super all the time. This is like his premier combo ender. It's just very, very, very consistent. Easy to DHC into, easy to DHC out of, and really not much more to it than that. But it's good. It's good super. Shinku Tatsu is interesting. It's not as good. Obviously the range isn't as good as Hsien-Ko Hadouken. It does have some invincibility, so you can use it as like a reversal, even though I think you'd rather use like a DP, because his meterless DPs are invincible. It does do a decent damage. You can also mash this super for more damage. Sometimes it'll like send the opponent on the opposite side, which you may or may not want, depending on your screen position. Like maybe if you're in the corner and you hit the opponent in the right way, you can send them to the corner, but I don't think that happens often. This super is kind of just like whatever. Hsien-Ko Hadouken is just like way more consistent. So I was throwing in like a B tier. Like Hado Kokuse, a fun fact, everyone calls this Denjin install, even though it has nothing to do with a Denjin mode at all. He's actually using the power of nothingness, which hasn't been a thing since SF5, so who cares? This powers up his supers. This gives him more plus frames on a lot of his special moves. Like he can act out of them faster. Like he can link out of Dante kick easier. The weird thing about this super is that it drains his health very, very slowly, but it does drain his health. I don't think he needed to do that. I don't think this super is good enough to warrant him needing the health drain. I think that's a little weird. He also gains access to the Shin Hadouken, which is pretty much just like a full screen version of the beam super, where like the beam bounces off the wall. It looks pretty cool, but I don't think it's as useful. And he also gets access to the Shin Tatsu. The Shin Tatsu is really cool. Not just visually, but it does a shit ton of damage. But you don't get a lot of time in this install. You only get like maybe like 5-6 seconds in it. So you really don't have a lot of time to use those supers to their potential. And I don't think his level 3 gets buffed at all. I don't know. I mean, the super can be like a decent DHC super. Like if you want to bring Ryu out safely or bring Ryu in safely. Yeah, I don't think it's doing a whole lot. So it can stay in C rank, it's fine. Shinsho is pretty standard for a level 3 ender. It does really, really good damage. And the main gimmick is that you can combo out of it, or combo after it. At the end of combos, you usually will do like medium heavy S, MMH, heavy Tatsu, level 1, and then just like, get some good damage out of that. The damage from this super is very, very impressive, and being able to combo after it is very useful. Comboing into it from DP is, you can only really do it from like his light DP, because otherwise sometimes medium and definitely heavy will just launch them too high. But yeah, I think it's a good B super. Fucking bionic maneuvers. So this is a cinematic super. Spencer reels you in and hits you a bunch of times before reeling you into a soft knockdown, and then that knockdown sets him up to do a heavy Tiger Knee wire. And if he didn't spend his ground mounts already, he can just combo after you and then immediately set the super up again. So this is a great means for Spencer to get a lot of damage. This is where Spencer gets most of his damage, apart from like 80k loops and shit like that. It's not really doing much else besides that. It doesn't have like, a lot of durability. It's not going through a lot of moves. You're obviously not going to throw this out neutral, but this is just a great combo ender for Spencer. In fact, this is also just a fantastic DHC super, especially if he's partnered up with a character that doesn't have a wall bounce. If he's put up with Doom or Nova, they can do their combo, DHC into Bionic maneuvers, and then that sets up Spencer for the wall bounce. Zip, 80k, you go for another Bionic maneuvers. I think this is just a really good move for Spencer to have in his kit. Probably not as ubiquitous as Bionic Lancer, Bionic Arm. This is just a very, very straightforward, invincible screw you move. He just does a straight punch, goes through pretty much everything. If you see it, hits the opponent. He can either X-Factor and go for whatever he wants, or depending on the screen position, he can hit a air wire and then go for a combo from there. What you see is what you get. It's just an invincible get off me move, but it's super quick and it just plows through everything. Spencer just has really good supers. No level 3s, but these two are very, very good for what they are. Unlike Legion. Legion sucks, dude. This is Strider's only level 1. He sends a bunch of robot animals across the screen. They hit off the ground, but it's so damn slow that like you're never really sure if the super's gonna connect or not. I think like one of the only guaranteed ways to connect with this super is off of a light gram or off of a like very, very late connect jump S. It's not just slow, but it's also the damage is not what it should be. You'd think because it's so slow that it would make up in damage, but it really doesn't. It's gonna stay in D tier. This super never kills. Even when you think it should kill, it never kills. Orbs, it's really good. This is Strider's utility, level 3. This is the one you are always usually gonna want to go into, especially in X Factor. Strider summons these 2 satellites around him, and whenever you hit an attack button, they just shoot projectiles. And the main reason you save this super is when Strider's last character, and he's in level 3 X Factor. He can very, very, very easily kill like at least 2 characters very, very, very quickly. Like the projectiles he throws off do a good amount of chip, and he can stick to a character with his teleports and always smother them, these projectiles. So it's very, very difficult for the opponent to get away from him in this state. But it's hard for Strider to kill off a whole team with just the super alone because it doesn't last super long. It's more likely that he'll kill like 2 characters, but he's gonna have to like work a little hard on that last character. It's not like a be-all end-all super, but it is a very, very potent super. There's a reason it's a level 3 in this game. Because of X Factor. Like they knew how degenerate it could feel if Strider would be able to do this like for just 1 bar or even 2 bars at any time. Like it would be insane. It's still a great super. Ragnarok is a pretty good level 3 ender. He just rushes forward towards the enemy, hits him a bunch of times, and gets some good damage out of it. I don't think you can combo after it. The main way you're gonna combo into this is if the opponent is still like in a juggle state, because it doesn't hit off the ground. You don't see the super a lot, like because the Strider's usually gonna go for orbs more often than not, and that's what he's gonna spend his 3 bars on, unless he knows that this is gonna kill the last character. I mean, it's still a decent level 3 super, but no, I mean, Ragnarok's alright. Now we're moving on to Trish. Maximum voltage. It's okay. She just throws a bunch of electricity at the screen. She can do this on the ground or in the air, and in the air it hits off the ground. But the weird thing about the super in the air is that like sometimes the opponent will get juggled or hit in a weird way, where like they'll only get hit by like the edges of some of the projectiles, and you won't get as much damage out of the super as you would want to. But I mean, otherwise it's a whatever super, it's fine. It's mostly just combo render. Round trip harvest. This is a pretty interesting super. It's basically just like a super round trip. She just sends the scythe out, will track the opponent to where they are, and either force them to stay blocking, so that Trish can go for pressure, and it's really good on incoming actually, or if she kills an opponent and then immediately goes into round trip harvest, she can just force the opponent to block on incoming and then like tag into another character and then keep the pressure going. So the super is definitely pretty good in that sense, but it's a little slow and it's not invincible, so you really have to like set it up. So like incoming is usually like the best place you're going to ever see this super. You're not going to see it as much as max volt, just because this one's just way faster. But this one's better for pressure. But they're both better than her level 3. You never see this level 3. It is really, really, really hard to combo into, and she just hits you in a cinematic with for a decent amount of damage, but you never combo into this thing. And with the way Trish's combos work, she's always like airborne. She's always doing she's setting up traps, and she's usually keeping the opponent away. You can't really combo into the super after during any of her crazy strings like that. You never see the super at all. So that's why it's gonna go in D. It's not a great not a great super all around. Servbot Takeout. This super is really, really fun. Unlike the Marvel 2 version, this version actually throws a projectile that goes full screen. It's slow as hell, but it does go full screen. But eventually, when you're up close to the opponent, it's pretty quick. She hits the opponent, launches them up high, and then they fall down, and then all 41 Servbots come in, and then just run them over. The nice thing about this super is that initial hit. It's a really, really great super for DHC synergy. As soon as that first initial hit lands, you can DHC into a character, and they can intentionally whiff their super and get plus frames. So you could potentially go into a character's like install super, like a double trigger, or you can DHC into Frank West and get some more pictures in, and really get like level 5 very, very quickly. Otherwise, it's just a really, really standard combo ender for Tron, but it is consistent. You can always land this after a balance strike, regardless of where you're on the screen, as long as it's not like the last hit. King Servbot is a pretty interesting super. Comboing into this thing is really finicky because you can combo into it whenever the opponent is stuck in the capture state from Beacon Bomb, and then you can just go right into the Servbot naturally. The King Servbot starts as like a physical hitbox in the beginning that props the opponent up, and then it combos into the rest of the super, and you can mash it for more hits and do some good damage, and you can combo after it as well. Like every time the super lands, depending on how it connects, if the opponent is high enough, you can actually do like 5H and do another King Servbot, and then if that connects, you can just go for like 5H Bond Strike, Servbot Takeout, and that sequence just does a shit ton of damage. Most Tron players will want to try to get multiple of these supers in one combo as much as they can to kill off a character, because it does do the most damage for level 1s. But yeah, I'll throw it in B. I think it's a good super. Tron's level 3 isn't the best. I think it's fine, but it's not the best. It's a command grab super. She's right next to the opponent. She grabs them. You can spin the stick up and down or left and right a bunch of times to get more damage out of it. She can't combo out of it, unlike Haggar. So, like, it's better than Nemesis because it's like quick and the opponent can't jump out of it. But you know, if you land the super, that's all you're getting. It's like one of the only command grab supers in the game that you just can't combo out of. But the damage is like okay. So I mean, you just gotta hope it lands, and it doesn't have a lot of setups. There's a really like tacky setup you can do, where basic corner combo, 2H, 6H, Servbot launcher, have the opponent block the Servbot on the way down, and then as soon as they land, you can go into level 3. That's not guaranteed. The opponent can just like roll out of the way of that, but it will always work the first time. It's kind of whatever level 3. Dimension Slash, good super. Good super. Just a solid combo ender for Vergil to have. He just slashed across the entire screen multiple times, doing some good damage. So the number of slashes he does and the damage overall for this super is inconsistent. It can be random for which slashes you get or how many hits you're gonna get in this super. It doesn't matter whether or not you're mashing. Sometimes you'll just like get like an extra few hits tacked on at the end, and that'll actually leave the opponent knocked down longer, so you can actually like link another high time into this super again, potentially getting more damage. But that is pretty inconsistent overall. The main way you want to squeeze the most damage out of this super is if the opponent is in the center of the screen in the air. So the closer they are to the center of the screen, the more hits Vergil's going to land, and the more damage you're going to do. So most of the time when a Vergil's ending the combo, he'll do like Helmbreaker, do medium teleport to get to the other side of the opponent, and then just do high time super. And then that's usually the best way he'll get the most damage out of this. Otherwise, it's pretty good. It's not the best to throw out in neutral if you want to like go for chip, because the super is actually like really, really bad on block. If you block the super, and if he doesn't like DHC out or X Factor, Vergil is stuck like sheathing his sword again, and that takes forever to finish, and he's basically just asking to eat a combo. But for what it is, it's still a good super. Spiral Swords. Shit. So you do DP in 2 attacks, and Vergil puts on his Gucci belt, and he just commands whatever the hell the game is at that point. Like, this is easily probably the best lockdown super in the game, especially for the cost it is. It's just 1 bar. And for 1 bar, Vergil puts a bunch of little swords around his belt, and they're active for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of hits. And he can use that to immediately teleport towards the opponent and force him to block. He can switch sides and force the opponent to guess which side he's going to be on, opening them up very, very easily. Jump in, force the opponent on incoming, especially if you throw that like round trip. It's also a great combo extender. Like, do any combo that ends in 2H, go into Spiral Swords, and then go for loops. So not only does the super have great lockdown, great damage, great combo extensions, and probably the single best DHC super in the game. Like, you could always DHC into this, and it's never a bad idea. You're guaranteed to just teleport into the opponent's face and force them to block. And that's not even getting into like the other stuff you can do with this. If you want, you can spend additional meter to do like blistering swords, or like you can put the crown on the opponent's head. You can like put the swords behind you and then throw them out manually as different attacks, or you could summon the swords above the opponent's head and they'll intermittently strike the opponent after a certain amount of time. Those are both really good options, but honestly, even if Vergil didn't have those, this would still be one of the best supers in the game. It's crazy how much Vergil gets from just this super alone. This is like one of the most damning things about the character, and it's an easy S super, no question. Vergil's Deadpool trigger, I was gonna put it on par with Dante's, but then I realized how much better it actually is as a DT. This super, it does the same things that Dante's does. It heals his red health, and he can't build bar, but Vergil also gets additional benefits. He gets a double jump, and he gets an air dash, unlike what Dante has naturally, so Vergil has to go into DT in order to get those movement upgrades. But also, all of his special moves get buffed, unlike Dante. Since Vergil has a smaller command list compared to Dante's, I guess they figured they could just let his specials go even more like insane. When he's in DT, they just get a hell of a lot bigger, and they do way more damage. Like, his judgment cuts just take up the entire like lower portion of the screen. Rapid slash is just incredibly big, and those carry over to his assist. If you tag out when Vergil's in DT and you like hit assist, like hit rapid slash, that's going to be the DT version of that assist, and it's just going to be like insanely huge. It's never a bad idea to go into double trigger. I mean, the only downside is that you're not building bar, but if you're playing Vergil as an anchor, you have a lot of bar to spend on DT and spiral swords, so you're gonna be fine as long as you don't like, you know, do anything too crazy. But yeah, this is an incredible install. Dark Angel, I put it like neck and neck with Phoenix Wright's, in the same way that it's an incredibly good super with like one big caveat. This is level 3, and it does the most damage out of any other level 3 in the game. It does barely more than Phoenix Wright's. It does like 600,030, 600,010 or something like that. But the big downside is that you need to be in double trigger in order to actually use this super. So this level 3 is actually functionally a level 4, because you need to spend 1 bar for the double trigger and then an additional 3 bars for the super itself. I mean, it's worth it, because like I said, it does a shit ton of damage, and it also hits off the ground. So you can just do like any basic combo into Helmbreaker and then go right into Dark Angel, and it'll work no problem. And after it hits, the opponent is, if they're not dead, they're put in a crumple state. So you can just combo afterwards. If you're landing this super, there's 80% chance that the opponent's dead, because it just does so much damage, especially if you like X Factor beforehand. But obviously the cost is the biggest deterring aspect of it. Most of the time, Vergil would just rather spend his bar on DT or Summon Swords, as opposed to like, you know, trying to go for Dark Angel. Dark Angel is usually what he goes for if he just wants to end the round as quick as possible, if he's on the opponent's last character. It's still a good super otherwise. Six Machine, it's fine. He just shoots a big cannon. He gets Sylvia out, and he shoots a single hit big cannon. It does decent damage, especially for one hit level 1 super. If you want to hit off the ground with it, you always have to like Tiger Knee it right away after like an air combo. But a lot of times he can also just like go into the super from like Air Joe. He can just like mash heavy, and after like 5 or 6 hits, he'll just go right into this level 1, and it will usually always land. There's nothing else really much about it. Yeah, it's a good super otherwise. Beautiful God Hand is functionally very similar to Ammy's Veil of Mist. If you hit the opponent with this, it puts them in a slowdown state. You're allowed to do more like unique combos, or just like a more interesting mix-up. Usually when Joe lands this, he puts the opponent in like an intermediate 50-50 scenario, where he can either do 6M or like 2L, and just have the opponent guess high or low. Like they just have to guess, because they can't react to it. The biggest downside with the super is that, unlike Ammy's, Joe has to actually hit with this super. He can't just like do it raw. He has to be close enough to the opponent and actually combo into it. That's the only real thing like holding this super back. compared to Ammy's is the fact that you have to combo into it, but the reward you get off of it is pretty good, and I think the slowdown is longer than Ammy's to compensate. I might be wrong about that. It does what it sets out to do. Mach Speed's a good super. This is just Joe's invincible reversal. He just goes forward. If it gets the first hit of the super, it gets a cool little like film reel cinematic. But regardless of that you get that or not, he's always going to rush the opponent multiple times and then launch him into the air. And then on the last hit, you can super jump cancel it and then go for an air combo. The invincibility is the best part about it, and the fact that it can hit assist as well. So if you see an opponent do something really unsafe, or if they're calling an assist, Joe can literally just Mach Speed from like half screen and just go straight through them. So it's really easy for Joe to just do Mach Speed, hit a character or hit both characters, and then just immediately X Factor, and then try to go for a kill after that, like launch him into the air, and then do like Air Desperado to like get a kill. Honestly, this is a decent super for Joe to have as well. Phantom Dance, Maximum Wesker. Wesker literally just like dashes across the screen over and over and over again. It's nothing too fancy, and the damage is fine depending on how you hit it. Very similar to Dimension Slash. The super's damage output is dependent on screen position. You want the opponent to be like in the center, middle, upper portion of the screen if you want Wesker to get as many hits as possible. Most time when Wesker combos into the super, he's always gonna like swap to the other opponent's side, launch him, do like jump H. As long as they're in like the closest center to the screen, then he's gonna go for Phantom Dance, get as much damage as possible. But a lot of times you'll also see Wesker do this super at the start of the match, because Wesker takes off his sunglasses during the super, and when his sunglasses are off, he actually gets a damage buff, damage and a speed buff, I think. So a lot of Weskers will opt to just do Phantom Dance at the start, just to take off Wesker's glasses, and then give him that like buff for the rest of the match. The super is not like invincible. You can very easily hit Wesker out of this while he's flying across the screen, as long as you have like a move like you can do like 5S or any Shoryuken style move, and it'll like hit him out of it pretty clean. And even if you block this super, sometimes Wesker can just like cross you up. It really does just kind of feel like it happens when it wants to, but Wesker can just get random cross-ups with Phantom Dance, like just out of nowhere, and like he'll take those. But yeah, it's just a good combo ender for Wesker. Rhino Charge is a counter super, and unfortunately you don't really see it often. As a result, it probably has like the best, or one of the best payoffs for a counter super in the game. If he counters any physical hit, he like strikes the opponent, and then they're put in crumple state, and he gets a combo after it. Obviously you have to call that out. It's really hard to do in this game when the opponent can just like DHC or like X Factor, or have, you know, several other means of canceling their attacks. But I mean, when it lands, it's a good reward. Like the crumple state does a lot. He can just immediately go for like a max damage combo. It's usually more of a liability than anything. Lost in Nightmares is a pretty good level 3. Harder to combo into than his level 1. Wesker can only really like combo into the super easily from like a core circle forward light, and it does really good damage. It always kind of surprises me how much damage the last couple of hits of the super does before like the missile even drops. That's all it really is. It's a standard level 3. Zero's Koha. I like this super a lot, even though it's pretty basic. Zero just slams his buster to the ground and shines down the Skittle Beam on the opponent and hits off the ground, and it does pretty good damage. The big drawback is its speed. The super is very, very, very slow. You really have to wait for Zero to hit the floor, and then the beam itself falls down from the sky onto the opponent. The super is mostly just a combo ender, or if you really want a quick and easy way to finish a combo that doesn't involve doing landing loops. Yeah, of course, Sogen moves in S tier. Zero creates a clone of himself. That clone does everything that he does on a very, very slight delay. Zero can just continuously chuck level 3 buster shots and fireballs along with the clone. He can just fill the whole bottom of the screen with as much nonsense as, like, you know, Astrovision or like Ouroboros. It's insane. And obviously the super helps him set up his own, like, you know, touch of death loops with lightning loops. This is what he goes into whenever he wants to kill a character off of any hit. It is admittedly on like the shortest install timer in the game. I think it's only like 4 seconds or something like that. But that's all he really needs. to get going at whatever he needs to do. It's a good super. Genmu Zero is just a no-frills level 3. He literally just chucks a big single crescent beam across the screen, non-cinematic. It just hits anything in its path. It hits assists, it hits point characters. You can't match it, it's just one hit, but it does do a lot of damage. This is mostly used as a very, very, very quick means of ending a character. Say if you're doing lightning loops, you don't want to like screw up messing it up when you're on the opponent's last legs. You could just like go straight into Genmu Zero and kill the opponent right away. This also hits assists very easily and does a shit ton of damage to them. It's just a big call out super. It's on 0, so it's good. Alright, we're halfway done. God. There's a lot of supers in this game. So let's just keep going. Hypercharging Star. Good. This is the only super you see Cap use, just because it's very fast and it does a lot of damage. He always lands this after a OTG light shield slash, and it just does a lot of damage. And one of the big properties of this super is that it can actually blow through a lot of projectiles and even a lot of hyper combos. This super can just like blow right past it. It doesn't have a lot of range if you're trying to use it like that. The range only really gets extended once you connect with the opponent. If you see someone doing something like mid-screen that you think you could punish, you could just go into Hypercharging Star. For the damage it does alone, it's good. Hyper Stars and Stripes is fine. This is just a DP super. You don't really see Cap use this a lot because his normal DP, his regular Stars and Stripes, already has invincibility actually. It's one of the few meterless invincible reversals in the game. The big benefit of like this super compared to regular Stars and Stripes is that this super is actually plus on hit. Many times if you do his regular DP, even if it hits the opponent, a lot of characters can actually just recover first and then punish Cap for going for that DP. So this super is like a more guaranteed way to be safer. It's very similar to Akuma's DP super, where he kind of does like 2 small uppercuts and then ends in a big finish. But it doesn't do as much damage as Hypercharging Star, and it does have slower startup. You never really combo into this. You only really want to do this in like a last ditch effort, and only if you have like X Factor that you can like cancel into it and then potentially get a combo out of it, kind of like Akuma can. I always kind of view this as just a worse version of Misatsu Go Shoryu, but you know, it's something for Cap to have. Final Justice, I wish this super was faster. That's my big problem with Final Justice. Like it does good damage, and if you can land it, it's worth it. Cap basically just does a charging star, and if it connects with the opponent, he goes into a cinematic where he just sends you up and slams you back down. He actually has enough time in that hard knockdown to go for an OTG and then go right into Hypercharging Star. The damage you get off of this super when it lands is pretty good, but comboing into it is very finicky because it just has like a lot of startup. You mainly only really combo into this super from like a light charging star or very, very specific angles of shield slash. Otherwise, this super will just it won't connect. Like you can technically get it off of an OTG shield slash if the hit stun decay is low enough, but that feels frame perfect. Like you have to cancel that very, very early just for that cancel to work. So it's not really worth going for. It's usually better off just going for any combo that ends in light charging star and then canceling into the level 3. But even then, if you do that, there might be times where the light charging star will hit, but if you cancel into the level 3 too early, Cap will like swap sides because the charging star sends him in the opposite direction. It can be annoying trying to combo into the super. I just think it's too slow for what it needs to be. But it's invincible, and the damage is good, and if it lands, you can get even more damage out of it potentially, but I don't think it's as useful as other level 3s in the game. This is Deadpool. You can't see Deadpool, you just see a bunch of bullets in this picture. But please take my word for it, this is Happy Trigger. This is a solid super. It's just a basic projectile super. Deadpool fires a bunch of bullets from his handguns in a manner very similar to Dante's. It's not as good as Dante's because Dante's $1 Million has much better lock-in compared to Deadpool's super. If the opponent is actually high enough up in a juggle, you can miss a lot of hits in this super. The super is always where Deadpool is getting most of his damage, since his combos scale pretty hard. And it's good, you can mash it for more hits, and you can also do it in the air, and the air version hits off the ground, just like Akuma or Hiryu. And the air version is really good because it hits at a 45-degree angle, so it's great for sniping assists and for just keeping the opponent at bay on the ground. So in that way, this super has a lot of utility compared to other like projectile supers in the game. But Deadpool is always going to go into the super. Cut in time. Cut in time is whatever. When Deadpool activates cut in time, he just goes across the screen, and if he connects with the opponent, he goes into a cinematic where he slices them over and over again until he swaps sides. The opponent is left in a soft knockdown, and they just flip out right away as soon as the super ends if it doesn't kill them. But if it does kill them, Deadpool has the benefit of having good incoming, because whenever you get a kill with any cinematic super in the game, you get like predetermined incoming. The super also has 0 frames of post-screen freeze startup, which means like if the opponent's not already blocking by the time the super starts after the super flash ends, Deadpool's gonna hit him out of it. You don't really use it a lot in that way because it's not like the super is invincible, or at least doesn't have a lot of invincibility. He mostly goes into the super if he knows it's gonna kill from like a DHC to try to get like a good incoming after the fact. Fourth Wall Crisis is a great looking super, but it is a counter super. It is a level 3 counter super, and very similar to the gripes I had with Wesker's counter super, it also applies to Deadpool. And it's actually a little worse because he doesn't crumple the opponent like Wesker does. The opponent is just put in a knockdown. I think you can combo after it. I think Deadpool can always dash up and do a heavy katana Marama, and then do a basic BNB from there. But if the opponent sees you going for this, the super flash is going off regardless. So they're going to see you going for the counter and then just not hitting you. And I think this counter only hits, or is only activated from physical hits. If you just throw a fireball at him or any projectile, it's not going to trigger. Yeah, you're never going to land this super, unfortunately. And the damage isn't really like substantial enough to warrant going for. You're better off not going for it. Deadpool's better off just saving his meter for his level 1. Doom's got some great supers. Photon Array is... I'm putting it in S rank just because there's never a bad time to throw this super out there. Doom he sends out a huge stream of projectiles from his fingers, and it covers the entire screen. The nice thing about this super is that just how incredibly safe it is. Even if you're right in front of the opponent's face when you do this super, I'm pretty sure always like even at worst. Like even at worst, or maybe like -1 or 2 at worst. Like it's really, really hard to punish Doom when he does this super. It's like free chip most of the time. And it's not a lot of chip, but it's free chip. And he can do it whenever. He can do it on the ground, he can do it in the air. The air version covers the entire bottom portion of the screen in the projectiles. They don't have like a ton of durability, but it's just super far reaching and super nice to have. And especially as a DHC, this is a no-brainer DHC super to go into from any character. Any character can just go right into Photon Array and have no problem. It has a potential weakness with that dead zone. Like Dante, for instance, can do like Vortex, and then like potentially Helmbreaker right above Doom. Otherwise, there's really nothing wrong with this super. It's a really, really good projectile super. Sphere Flame is stronger. That's the big thing about this super compared to Photon Array, is that this is the super that Doom does when he wants damage. Photon Array can do pretty good damage if you manage to get all the hits in the corner, but you're only really getting that from like team supers. But Sphere Flame, if you get all the hits in, it just does good damage no matter what. It just sends a big ball of energy upwards, and if the opponent is trapped in it, they go all the way to the top of the screen, and then it explodes. Even if the opponent doesn't get trapped in it, Sphere Flame can be like a decent projectile super. Not great, not as good as like Photon Array or even other like projectile supers. But the final hit that Sphere Flame does, it actually spreads a bunch of projectiles onto the floor. You can actually use this super in like really unique ways. Like you can use this super to completely nullify Storm's Hailstorm assist, which looks really bizarre, but it works surprisingly well. But this is mostly Doom's level 1 damage ender, and in that regard, it works very, very well. Doom Time is a very, very ubiquitous level 3. This is like one of the easiest level 3s to land in the game, probably next to like Dante's level 3. If you can land a 5M or a 5H, then that will always consistently go right into Doom's level 3. He just traps the opponent in stasis tube, and you mash your attack buttons over and over again to get more damage. You can't combo out of it, you can't do much else besides that, and the range is a little like suspect. Like the hitbox is like kind of like in front of and beneath Doom, but most of the time like you are just landing it from 5M or 5H, and in those regards it's good. It's always landing, and it does really, really good damage. So yeah, it's a good level 3. Doctor Strange, Spell of Ashanti. I'm just going to throw this in A rank because this is a really, really good projectile super. Regardless of wherever Strange is, either on the ground or in the air, he just chucks a big pillar of energy. It's really, really quick, and it tracks the opponent, no matter where they are. It doesn't have the most damage compared to other projectile supers, but the utility of being able to track wherever the opponent is, regardless of whatever they're doing, regardless of wherever Strange is, it's very, very vital, and that is a very powerful tool in Strange's kit. Like if Strange sees the opponent doing anything, even remotely unsafe, he can just go into this super, and then like pop X Factor, do heavy teleport, and then like impact bomb, and then just kill that character right off the bat. The super also like completely nullifies characters who aren't very good at dealing with zoning, like Doom. Funnily enough, this super pretty much like kills Dr. Doom in this matchup. Like Strange could literally just like do this super for like 10 seconds and just completely nullify whatever Doom's trying to go for. It's really good. Seven Rings of Raggador is, I believe, the only projectile counter super, which is really interesting. There's other projectile counters in the game, like Ammy has one. Strange's is a super straight up, and it's actually not bad. Once any projectile hits Strange in the startup, Strange does a big beam to hit the opponent, and the beam does decent damage and it goes full screen. But yeah, the nice thing about this super is that if the projectile counter is triggered, Strange is completely invincible. Not before it triggers, but once a fireball hits Strange and he's throwing the beam, you cannot hit Strange out of that. He is going to fire that beam until the end of the animation. It's a nice little bit of insurance for a counter super. I wish the damage was a little higher, and I don't think you can mash it for more hits, but considering how many projectile supers are in the game and how much garbage floods the screen, Strange really benefits from having a super like this. Like this helps a lot in Zero Morrigan matchups. This helps a lot in Doom. This is a really useful tool to have. Astral Magic is level 3 ender. He can only land this super on the ground. He mostly only lands this super from impact palm loops primarily, and in that case, it does really good damage, especially after those loops. That this will kill a character more often than not. I feel like Strange would just rather spend his bar on Spell of Ashanti. Even though this super doesn't have the biggest damage in the world, it just helps his game plan way more and is way easier to use compared to this super. Alright, moving on to Dorm. Chaotic Flame is it's a good beam super. That's all it really is. Dorm just throws a big pillar of fire in front of them. No frills about it. That's all it really is. The main thing is that it doesn't go quite full screen. Kind of matches the animation in that if you keep yourself in the corner away from it, you can actually dodge a good portion of this super. You can actually link a 5L after it lands, but I mean he's not really going to get anything off of it. It's just a nice little bit of extra damage at the end of a corner combo. Does good damage, good chip. You can mash for more hits. It's a good projectile super. It really doesn't need to be anything more than that. Docking Flare is what you want to be going for, though. Bless you, line. Has a bit of startup, which throws a big ol' orb on the screen, big ol' fireball, and it chases the opponent. This super is primarily used on incoming. After Dormammu kills a character, he will just go straight into the super, and the opponent is forced to block because the orb is going to be going towards them the entire time. And in that time frame, Dorm has opportunity to charge stocks for his spells, He can tag out into another character. He can set a flame carpet on the floor and then tag out to another character to set up some nasty unblockables. Very famously, Paradigm used this very, very effectively with Dormammu and Haggar. But if you get hit by the super intentionally, trying to avoid that, then you run the risk of, you know, taking more damage anyways, because many characters can still chase after you even if you get hit by the super. It does pretty good damage for what it is. It's a nightmare, especially when Dormammu can just like teleport to the other sides and force you to guess where you think it's gonna go. The biggest downside of the super is that the flare goes away when Dormammu takes any damage at all, which is obviously a big deal. Like, that is a very, very big detriment, but in most cases when you are using this super, Dormammu has many methods of avoiding damage altogether. He's either like full screen or doing it on incoming. Like if he's full screen, throwing this super out there, he could always just like throw spells out like meteors or whatever. This super has way more upsides than downsides. Dark Dimension is a pretty good level 3. Throws like a shadow carpet across the screen or across the floor, and if it connects, it goes into a little cinematic that does a lot of damage. Like even if the super doesn't kill on its own, Dormammu can just go right into Purification, into Chaotic Flame, very, very easily adding to the damage. The super also hits off the ground, which is really nice. This is a decent call-out super, having it travel along the ground. For the speed at which it hits you, it's a pretty decent super to throw out there. Hellfire Maelstrom, is a good super. It's okay. It's not as good as it is in Marvel Infinite. In this game, it's very easy to combo into. He literally just like spins the chain around him. It doesn't go quite full screen as much as you would think, but it does hit a very, very wide area around Ghost Rider, and you can land the super very easily off of like an OTG Hellfire and get some good damage that way. The last hit also causes a hard knockdown, so if you're going to DHC after the super, you want to make sure the character you're DHCing into has a super that hits off the ground. Otherwise, it's going to whiff. That's the only really finicky thing about this super. Otherwise, it's fine, but more often than not, you'd rather just go into Spirit of Vengeance. Spirit of Vengeance also isn't like spectacular, but it is way better compared to Hellfire Maelstrom. It just rides the bike, and depending on the button you press, there's a number of different follow-ups. I think you hit light, it speeds up the bike. Hit medium, it is a wall bounce. If you hit heavy, he jumps. And if you hit S, which is the one you should be using all the time, he kind of just like pops a wheelie, and the wheelie does a bunch of damage. And for that reason alone, you only ever see the S follow-up for this super. There's, as far as I know, no other application for the other button prompts, and it's very easy to set up DHCs with that follow-up as well. It does have hyper armor, but in my opinion, it's not as like strong in this game. It is a good asset to have because, you know, Ghost Rider's defensive maneuvers are really few and far between. So, I mean, having a super with hyper armor is nice, but I don't think you can really just throw it out there. This is mostly just used as a really, really nice damage ender. Penance Stare is decent as a level 3. It's a command grab. If you are within the range of Ghost Rider's grab, he just puts you in a really cool cinematic, and then the opponent is put in a crumple state where Ghost Rider can just do whatever combo he wants after that. The super is pretty difficult to land because, especially with the way Ghost Rider is like normally played, he wants to hit you from like mid-range or long range with the chain, with the heavy whips. It's really tricky to willingly put the opponent super close to you. The super would primarily be used on defense then. It's still really tricky to land, and a lot of times characters are like just air dashing towards you and like, you know, going for teleport high-low nonsense. So it can be weird to know what side they're going to be on, let alone if they're going to be like grounded or not. It's about like a demon in my eyes. It's very similar utility. At least the super looks better in this game. Gimlet. Gimlet is a great level 1 super. I'm tempted to put it in S rank, to be honest, just because this is a pretty damaging level 1 super. Tracks the opponent wherever they are on screen. Doesn't hit off the ground, which I always found weird, that this super will never ever hit off the ground. This super is very, very easy to combo into regardless. Much like Doctor Strange, Hawkeye can just kind of like negate a bunch of matchups by just having the threat of this super. Especially in X Factor, this super does a surprising amount of damage in X Factor. It's super good. Kiss of Fire, this is Hawkeye's, I guess it could be like a setup super. He fires an array of arrows from the sky, and when they land, they explode, and it does hit off the ground, but you're never really gonna use it in that way. The super is really good as a keep away tool. If he's playing up against characters that have a really tough time dealing with a zoning, this super is really good at keeping them out. It's a good keep away super. Tag team special is a pretty good level 3. It's very easy to combo into. Unlike Gimlet, this super hits off the ground naturally, so Hawkeye can just land the super off of any basic air combo. It's got pretty decent range. I think the speed, it feels like it hits at like mid-screen, because Hawkeye kind of like fires down forward at an angle and does good damage. Not much more to it than that. It's just a good combo ender level 3. Hulk. Gamma Tsunami is good. He just grabs the floor, chucks it up, and then depending on the opponent's position, the damage kind of fluctuates. If he's close to the corner, the super is not going to do a lot of damage, whereas if you're mid-screen, you can actually get all the hits in, and you get a lot of damage from this super. The super is mostly useful for hitting off the ground. This is a great THC super, actually. If Hulk ends an air combo, he can just do THC. If Gamma Tsunami is the super that he uses during that team super, he'll recover super quickly while the other two characters are doing their thing, and he can just land like 5H, more gamma charges, tack on more hits to the combo, because the super is very, very quick, and it is very useful, especially having it hit off the ground without having to charge for Gamma Wave proper. Gamma Quake is weird. What Hulk does is he slams the ground, and after a slight delay, a bunch of rocks fall from the ceiling, and those rocks can hit off the ground, so it's not as quick as Gamma Tsunami, but if you're in the corner and if you can land this super, it actually does more damage than Gamma Quake. But that startup is like the biggest point of contention with this super, is like it's not as easy to use as his other two supers. It is interesting. You could use this super on incoming if you really wanted to. If you snap out an opponent, you could go into Gamma Quake and force the opponent to block, and then after it's done blocking, you could go for like a command grab. The super is, I guess, nice to throw in every once in a while, but it is definitely the least used of his other two supers. And Gamma Crush is his best super, easily. This super is completely invincible. Hulk just jumps into the air and grabs a rock and falls back to the ground. That rock does a lot of damage. So not only is this super completely easy for Hulk to just do on defense, if it lands, that is going to take a huge chunk off your health. Not to mention, it's very easy to combo into. Hulk also likes to buffer into this super. After he does Gamma Charge, he'll do like Gamma Charge heavy, light for the follow-up, and then if the opponent tries to like punish it, you can just go right into Gamma Crush and then just do a bunch of damage. Just for the invincibility and damage alone, this super is really, really good, and it's surprisingly easy to combo into. Iron Rage is pretty good. Iron Fist just like rushes forward and punches the screen a whole bunch of times. This is a reversal. He is completely invincible during the beginning of this super. The nice thing about this super is that it causes a wall bounce, and the easiest thing you can do off that wall bounce is just go right into another Iron Rage, and that does pretty good damage on its own. You can mash it for more hits, does good decent damage. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Volcanic Roar does more damage. It is not invincible, but it's really, really, really tall. This is the super that Iron Fist wants to go into from DHCs, just because of how high it goes. Like, say if like Ryu is doing a combo into Hsien-Ko Hadouken from the air, Iron Fist can just, tag in with Volcanic Roar. Even if the opponent's up like the very, very top of the screen, the super will still connect and still get like all the hits and do really, really good damage. It's not as useful in neutral as Iron Rage, which is why I'm probably gonna throw it here. It's still a good super, and it does nice damage. I guess it kind of evens out then. Like, if Iron Fist is getting a hit, he's always going to want to go into Volcanic Roar. But if he's having trouble getting in, he can always use the Iron Rage. I think these level 1s work well with each other. And Dragon's Prey is a pretty good level 3. I think it's also like about on the same par as these supers. Iron Fist kind of just creates like a big hitbox around himself, and if the opponent is inside that hitbox, they just go into a cinematic, and Iron Fist does like a big old 1-inch punch to them for a lot of damage. And it also hits all around him, even if like the opponent is behind him or trying to teleport behind him or like up behind him, this super can still connect. So as a reversal, that is very, very, very useful. It doesn't really do much else besides that. It's just a pretty good level 3 ender for his combos. I think all of his supers can kind of just like stay here. I think they're all pretty good. Alright, moving on to Proton Cannon. There's a lot of B supers. I'm gonna add another one. So the unique thing about Proton Cannon is that the first hit is a physical hit. That physical hit will prop the opponent up into the rest of the super, which is a proper beam. If you're trying to use this super as like a traditional beam super, like a Ryu or Akuma, it's not great because it's really slow. If you're trying to go for the super from full screen, this super is very, very slow. It does decent shit and good damage, but you always want to make sure to combo into it from that first hit, because the first hit is like really fast. I think it's like 3 frames or something like that. It's very easy for Iron Man to land this super. He can always land the super from like Smart Bomb. He can land the super from Repulsor Blast. And that first hit, because it's so quick, it can make for like a half decent reversal for Iron Man, which is an area that he really lacks in otherwise. Like, it's not invincible at all, but having a 3-frame super option that just has this big hitbox appear in front of him and props the opponent up for a big beam super, it's actually a better option than you would think for Iron Man. Or when you combo into it, it's really, really good. It does a lot of damage and you can match it for more hits. As long as you always manage to get that first hit, you should be fine. Just literally everything I just said just now, we can just repeat that for this super. This is Angled Proton Cannon. I find it really funny that they decided to give Iron Man a second super, or a second level 1, by means of just taking Proton Cannon and tilting it up 45 degrees. It's not like a Akuma or Ryu, where they can like choose to angle the same super depending on like the direction they hold. No, the Angled Proton Cannon is a different input. Regular Proton Cannon is closer forward. Angled Proton Cannon is DP. It's literally the exact same move otherwise. It's got the same initial startup hit, same damage, the exact same blocks done, the hits done. It's the same super. The only difference is that it goes at a slightly upward angle. This is mostly used in certain DHC situations, like if the previous character knocks the opponent up in a fashion, like Felicia for example, where like they're a little too high, the regular Proton Cannon wouldn't really hit. Angled Proton Cannon can hit them at that angle a little better. It's the same super, so it gets the same grade. Like any cons that this has is just offset by the horizontal version and vice versa. It'd be nice if you could use them in the air, but when they're good, they're good. Iron Avenger. Iron Avenger is also a decent level 3. Iron Man kind of swoops in, and if he grabs the opponent, he hits him with a big old unibeam. You can actually mash for more damage. If he lands the super, he can actually dash forward in after the fact, and then hit the opponent off the ground with like a Smart Bomb, and then potentially get a combo afterwards. You can always get like Smart Bomb Proton Cannon, and the range is pretty good, and it has a decent amount of invincibility, so it can catch a lot of people out of a lot of things. So I think it's a fine level 3. All right, on to Magneto. Magnetic Tempest it's a really, really good super. What he does is he just like he slams the floor and just creates a bunch of pillars in front of him that travel across the ground. If he's in the corner, it's only gonna hit like once or twice and not do a lot of damage. But if he's mid-screen, then it does a lot of damage, kind of like a Gamma Tsunami. This is also one of Magneto's only means of hitting off the ground. So at the end of like a very, very long air combo, if he knocks him down, he'll just go into Magnetic Tempest to like secure a kill, or at the very least to at least prop the opponent up and then DHC into another character for the kill. Because if you're in the corner and you hit the super, the damage is pretty piss. Magneto can try to squeeze more damage out of it by either like doing like a facing himself against the wall so that he can get the most damage out of the super, or more realistically, he can just like pull the opponent in with light gravitation and then just go for the damage, or go for the super, which will squeeze in like a little bit more damage than it would have before. I think this is a very, very good call-out super to just throw out there and get a hit if he really needs it. Magnetic Tempest is a little harder to combo into, but it does way more damage. That's like the main difference between these two supers. Magneto just like hurls a bunch of rocks at you and you can mash the rocks for more hits. The best way that you can combo into this is off of a hypergrab, or if you're in the corner, you can hit like a light connect, medium or heavy beam in the air, and that can also combo into a Tempest. So any combo that can end in this super is really, really worth it because it does a lot of damage. This is where Magneto gets a lot of his damage at the end of a combo. He can also do it in the air. A lot of times Magneto can just throw the super out when he's in like the back corner of the screen. He'll just go into this super and then immediately DHC into his next character so that he can like safely get Magneto out of there. Otherwise, the chip is not the best because the rocks kind of like go at like weird angles. It's great in the corner. In the corner, this super does a lot of damage. Outside of that, this isn't a great like chip out super to go for, but when it's good, it's good. Gravity Squeeze is very, very, very similar to Phoenix Wright's level 3. Much easier to combo into. It's just a full screen OTG-able super that Magneto can just tack on at the end of any combo he does. It's not as fast as Phoenix Wright's, and it doesn't do as much damage, but you can match it to get a little bit more hits and a little bit more damage out of it. It's not as good, but it is very useful. Magneto can just throw this super at the end of any combo and kill any character no problem. And it helps that, you know, these two supers are the only means that Magneto has to hit off the ground. But it's still a good super. Hypersonic Blast. MODOK just fires a big beam from his forehead. When you first see it, it does pretty piss damage, but the main gimmick is that this super is modified from his intelligence level. So if you hit the opponent with more intelligence cubes, then this super's damage becomes exponential. At level 1, this super has very, very underwhelming damage, but at max power, it's one of the strongest level 1s in the game in terms of like raw damage. If you can manage to get a high enough intelligence level to get this super to its fullest potential, then it's really good. Otherwise, MODOK would usually just rather go into his other damage level 1, even if it is a little more awkward to set up. That would be Hyper Battering Ram. This super's really weird because MODOK basically just like flings himself toward the opponent, and if you press an attack button during it, he will continuously charge toward the opponent, and you can angle that charge. So what MODOK will do is that he'll like angle the battering ram in a way where he kind of like get multiple of these supers out, and it does really good damage, but it's very, very finicky. But it is a nice thing to know for MODOK if you want to get as much damage out of him as you can. I'm not good at it, but you know, if you're playing MODOK, you're already willing to, you know, go for these more executionally demanding tactics, which I think is a very cool facet of the character. And Killer Illumination is a pretty decent command grab super. Very slow, but it is a completely invincible command grab super. And if you're within range of MODOK, he just like zaps you over and over again and slams you into a hard knockdown, and then he can just follow up with a 2M and then get whatever he wants from there. You can also match this super for more hits, so the super does really good damage. Even if it like doesn't connect, since it's level 1, he can just DHC out of it and then be completely safe. But the speed is what really draws it back from a command grab. This is mostly a defensive tool for MODOK to have, and it's good in that regard because, like I said, he gets a free combo if this thing lands. I think otherwise it is fine. Nova's Gravimetric Blaster. It's okay, but the big gimmick with this one is that depending on the amount of red health that Nova has, the beam actually gets bigger, it does more damage, but can't really choose whether or not you want to do that. Like if Nova happens to have a lot of red health when you do this super, it's always going to give you the bigger beam. That could be like pretty unfortunate if you don't really want that. But for what it's worth, the beam does do really good damage when it's at like those higher levels. So, like the super has a really long untech window for the opponent, which means the super DHCs pretty well. Otherwise, it's a beam super, and nothing too crazy apart from that. Supernova is great. It's a really simple super. Nova just encases himself in a ball of energy, and it just does a lot of damage. That's all it really is. It's just a combo ender for Nova, but it just does a lot of damage. And if you X-Factor before the last hit of the super, the opponent is put in a extended hard knockdown, which means Nova can just like get a free OTG and then, you know, go right into the super again. You'd be surprised how much damage this super does at the end of the combo, especially if you mash it for more damage. It is really, really good. Human Rocket is also a great super. Nova just like dashes across the screen completely ignoring projectiles. You can control the direction he goes in with the stick, or you can get follow-ups by pressing any attack button, along with like holding a direction. Most Novas will throw this out to like go through a fireball or something like that. They'll go like forward, up, down, and then if they land the last hit down, Nova actually recovers quick enough that he can actually like land a jab, and then just can get a free combo from there. It's a very, very, very easy way for Nova to get in. But Nova players will literally just like chuck a javelin and then throw out the super. They can hit the javelin on like the opposite side after they cross the opponent up, and then immediately travel back to where the opponent was, and then just get a free combo from there. It's pretty cheap in that regard. Damage isn't amazing, but it is mostly for like that neutral use. It works out pretty well. Oh Christ, it's Phoenix. Phoenix Rage. Yeah, this is a good super. It's completely invincible, which, you know, she definitely needs. She just summons a big Phoenix, and every time it hits, it is a guaranteed wall bounce. If you land the super in a certain way midair, she can actually get like a dash in jump S, and potentially just land another level 1. But I mean, it's fine. It's good. Healing field. Yeah, it's good. This super is also pretty good. So this super is unique in that it has no hitbox. All the super does is just regenerate her red health, and only her red health. It doesn't give her any of her permanent health back. It's just her red health. So it heals her red health when she's in contact with the opponent. And so that means if the opponent is comboing her to potentially kill her, if they're close enough so that they're inside the healing field, her health is always regaining even when she's being comboed. Like even basic combos that would like kill Phoenix in like 5 hits now take way longer just because of the constant healing from this healing field. It's the most obnoxious shit in the world. This super is good at what it sets out to do, and both of these supers are very vital for her crit because of her very, very unique level 5. Well, it's 5 bars, so it's the most expensive super in the game, but there's a reason that it's also one of the best supers in the game. If she dies when she has 5 bars, Phoenix turns into Dark Phoenix, and she becomes the worst. It's an install that buffs all of her special moves. All of her normals get buffed. Every single normal she throws out these little feathers, little feather projectiles that go like a little set distance across the screen. So even like when she's just doing like basic like block strings against the opponent, the chip is like insane, and it can be difficult to like do anything about it because you're constantly being smothered by these feathers. Her traps get the ability to wall bounce on hit, which means she just gets free opportunities to just get a bunch of damage. And they're also huge as hell. The traps just cover a humongous portion of the screen. The one big downside to this super is that her health is constantly draining. So it's supposed to be a thing of, oh, okay, well, I mean, you get to, you know, play as the best character in the game now. Well, you're only going to play as the best character in the game for like 8-10 seconds, maybe? And then at that point, you know, your health is gone, and anyone that, you know, hits you with a jab, you're dead. That doesn't matter with level 3 X Factor. X Factor completely negates the health degeneration, so Phoenix can just, you know, wait until the end of a match, keep her X Factor, pop Dark Phoenix, and then pop X Factor, and then throw all this crap on screen, all these traps, incredibly quickly, because she keeps all of her regular mobility in Dark Phoenix. She still has flight, she still has teleport, she still can do same stuff she could do as regular Phoenix, just way better now. The really annoying thing about the pop from Dark Phoenix is that it's essentially like a combo breaker. Like, regardless of what combo you were doing against Phoenix, when it hit, she's gonna hit you out of it. The pop from Dark Phoenix will stop whatever you're doing and knock you backwards, and she can actually X-Factor that pop. So if you're in a really bad position, when she pops that Dark Phoenix, she can actually punish you for like activating her super. It's disgusting. There's a million reasons why this super is as annoying as it is. I'll just say that like one of my favorite things about it is just seeing the many different ways that characters have to deal with it. Like, to me, anti-Phoenix tech is 1,000 times more interesting than watching any match with this bitch in it. But I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, deny that it is one of the best supers in the game. I just wish it wasn't in it. But that's neither here nor there, you know. Rocket level 1, it's fine. He just pulls out a big machine gun mows you down for a few hits, and then he pulls out like the energy cannon and then blasts you for a lot of damage. It's actually very similar to Dante's super in that the second to last hit, the last hit of the machine gun, that puts you in that like slow fall. So if Rocket wants to save that last hit, he can just DHC into another character and go for a unique follow-up from there, or go for like a setup. Unfortunately, if you get the energy ball to hit, the opponent gets the air reset. They don't land on the ground. It basically forces you to like not get the final hit of the super if you want to DHC into a character that can't hit that high. But it does do a good amount of damage. I'm just gonna put it in B, because I think it's a good super for Rocket. The trap, Mad Hopper. This is a great super. Rocket just throws a big trap on the ground, big spring, and if the opponent lands on it, they're shot into whatever direction. Actually, Rocket can dictate what direction the opponent flies in, depending on the buttons he uses. This is just a great setup super. The synergy this has with like other teams and other DHCs is like absurd. There are 1,000 different ways that characters can set the super up, where he can just throw it on the ground and set up whatever traps he wants. It's good. Rocket's level 3. I think it's a good level 3. It hits off the ground, which is pretty useful. You can mash it for more hits and get some good damage out of it. And if you're quick enough, you can actually you can either just go into like his level 1 right away, or you could log trap or oil trap and potentially get a unique extension that way. So I think B is a good spot for that, because they're not really gonna get much else off of this super. Plasma Storm. Plasma Storm is pretty good. I'm gonna throw it in A. This is the easiest super to combo into with Sentinel. Every time he hits a light rocket punch, you just go right in the Plasma Storm. It does good damage, good shit. You can mash it for more hits. It really doesn't do much else apart from that, but it's so easy to do, and the damage it does is good enough that you're never really not going for it. It's just a good combo under. Hyper Sentinel Force. You know what? I think I also might put this in A. This is just a good super to throw out. He just throws 3 sets of little mini Sentinels that can hit the opponent. In fact, Hyper Sentinel Force X Factor is just like a great means of locking the opponent down, making sure that they stay blocking, so that Sentinel can just go in and go for whatever mix-up he wants, either like high-low or going for a command grab. It's a great DHC super because it's really safe from full screen. There's hardly a bad time to go for it, and the rewards on hit are really good. Hard drive. You know what? Also A. The main thing about this super is that it's completely invincible, and it's air only. Sentinel can only do this move in the air, which means if Sentinel is on incoming, he could just go for hard drive and just say nah, and just, escape the corner and return back to neutral. You can punish this. Hard drive is difficult to punish, but not impossible. You basically just have to like jump into it and block it, and push block every hit, so that way you can go for an air throw afterwards, and then depending on the character, you can go from there. It is punishable. You can do something about hard drive, but a lot of characters also can't do much about hard drive. It's just a really good get out of jail free card that Sentinel has, and it's also surprisingly a great combo extender. The final hit of this move puts the opponent in like a spin state, soft knockdown, which leaves Sentinel enough time to Tiger Knee another hard drive, and then just like loop that. You could link 4 or 5 of these supers if you want to, just to secure a kill. And when Sentinel needs to do that, it's really useful. So not only is the super a great means to escape pressure, it's also his main combo extender. Sentinel's got a good, basic but good selection of supers. Unlike She-Hulk, I mean, shit, poor girl. Emerald Cannon, I'm torn, because I really don't like this super. My main problem with Emerald Cannon is that she does a dropkick, and by itself that's it's just a dropkick. But the gimmick is that you have to input 2 other commands. You have to hit cursor forward S for the second hit, and then once the second hit lands, you do cursor forward S one more time to get the third hit, where she does a big senton on you.
Oh my, it's unblockable?
Ass is usually unblockable, man. Number one reason men cheat.
It does decent damage. However, the thing about this super is that first hit is a wall bounce. And if She-Hulk already spent a wall bounce before landing this super, you can't land the other 2 hits. It's not a forced wall bounce, unlike other characters like Phoenix, for example. If she already spent a wall bounce, that's it. The range isn't incredible. There's no invincibility on it. This super really isn't doing anything for anybody. Yeah, I just think that's like the big flaw for this super, is that it doesn't give you like a forced wall bounce. It's like if you use it beforehand, you're screwed. And She-Hulk uses wall bounces a lot. No, I don't like it. I think it's a D. Taking out the trash, I think, is better. Not by much, but I think it's better. This is an anti-air grab super. She just jumps up at a 4 to 5 degree angle, catches the opponent jumping at them. You can actually spin the stick up and down or left and right to get more damage like other command grab supers. And then she wall bounces the opponent to get a combo after. And that's fine, but, you know, what's she gonna do at the end of that combo? She's gonna get 1 hit of Emerald Cannon, and that's it. Because this super also, you know, starts off with a wall bounce. At the very least, the range of this grab is pretty decent. You can actually catch a lot of people out of the air with this super. And because it's a level 1, you get like a decent number of chances to use it. She's not super punishable for going for it, but the reward on hit isn't as high as like other command grab supers, unfortunately. Road Rage is an interesting super. This is another command grab super. It's more of a traditional command grab. If She-Hulk is right in front of the opponent's face and she does this super, it goes into like a full cinematic and she can combo after it if she wants to. But if you use this super from a distance, the car in the super cinematic will still come out and actually like run over the opponent. So She-Hulk has a really expensive but not terrible projectile she can throw out. It only does like 1 hit if you get it this way, and it only does like 150,000 damage. But She-Hulk can cancel that into X Factor, and then just like, you know, dash up with the car or blink dash with the car to kind of keep herself safe, and then go for like, you know, pressure on the opponent afterwards. The car would just be there to kind of like cover her tracks. But it's still a decent command grab super. Does a lot of damage if it lands, and the like ability to have this weird like projectile like command grab gimmick, it's pretty novel. But I think that's all this is. It's pretty novel. I really don't like She-Hulk's supers. I feel bad that I don't like them as much as I do. I don't think they're super great. She's cool, but I just wish she was better. She always got good supers. However, Mr. Gray is a great OTG super. He just throws 2 sets of Mr. Grays across the screen. It's a great way to hit off the ground. It's a great way to set up for DHCs. This super is also really good when you have eyeballs on the opponent. Shuma can do a thing where he'll put a set of eyes on the opponent and then go right into this super. And then by the time the super ends, the eyeballs explode. And then Shuma can get a combo afterwards, like a jump S or whatever he wants. And then he can just go for another Hyper Mystic Ray. Like, that utility of this super is really cool, and it's a nice extension for what Shuma can do as a character. Otherwise, it's not doing a whole lot. The chip isn't really substantial for a projectile super, but at least the damage is okay. And if you can, like, do those cool Mystic Stare extensions, then that's when you're going to get the real meat out of, like, the character. Hyper Mystic Smash is more of a standard projectile super. Shuma just kind of like chucks a bunch of eyeballs at you, and they're kind of thrown at a random pattern. I don't think the buttons you press for the super dictate where the eyes go. I think they just kind of go wherever, but you can mash it for more hits, and they do like decent damage and decent chip. It's a decent keep away tool. It's a great way to like keep the opponent back, since a lot of the eyeballs are kind of like staggered apart from each other. And they also hit off the ground, which is another nice thing. It's not going to have the same extension ability with like Mystic Stare as Hyper Mystic Ray does, but if you're just looking for more damage in the corner, I think this super is better off for that, but I don't think it's as useful as Hyper Mystic Ray is. Chaos Dimension is interesting because Shuma starts off the super by biting the opponent and turning yellow, and when he's yellow, there's a timer on the bottom of the bar. In order to actually get the super to come out, he has to get close to the opponent and hit heavy, which becomes an unblockable attack, either on the ground or in the air. He'll just grab the opponent with an unblockable strike, and then go right into the Chaos Dimension level 3. The cinematic portion does a lot of damage. You can mash her for more hits. You can't combo after it, but it does do really, really good damage otherwise. And the fact that it is an unblockable move means you can actually set it up in moments that the opponent normally is like safe from, like incoming. If you hit the first hit of this level 3 with the bite, you can almost always combo into the cinematic portion by just hitting H right away. So yeah, it's a weird sort of like thing that he has to do, where he kind of has to like go after the rest of the super in order to get most of the damage. But it does have some like unique properties to it. But it's still a unique aspect to him that I like. Alright, Maximum Spider. Unlike the older Versus games, where Spider-Man just kind of like jumped around the screen a whole bunch, like what Wesker does, in this game they made it a cinematic. Spider-Man leaps to the corner, jumps toward the opponent, and then during that jump, I think he's completely projectile invincible. Or might he just be like straight up invincible? He's definitely invincible to projectiles during the leap toward the opponent. And then he'll go in the cinematic where he does a bunch of hits and then slams to the ground and then hits you with a hard knockdown. The super does the least amount of damage compared to all the supers, but it's also like the easiest one to land. So it's pretty standard, but it's also pretty good. Like you can always land the super out of like most of the specials. You can do it on the ground or in the air. It's death on block though. Like if they block this, you're gonna get hit. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty okay super. Crawler Assault, I think it's pretty even in terms of Maximum Spider. In terms of use, this does really good damage out of all the supers. You can mash for more hits, and it's completely invincible on startup. So if the opponent is pressuring you a little too hard, you can just buffer the super and plow right through it. It can be tricky to combo into on the ground. You can do like Spider Sting on the ground, cancel into Web Zip, and then cancel the Web Zip into Crawler Assault, which is a great way to get this super on a like grounded opponent. It also ends in a wall bounce, which is nice. I think Spider-Man can always get like angled Web Zip after the fact and try to go for like a mix-up. This is where Spidey gets a lot of damage from his DHCs. He'll just go right into Crawler Assault. And then we have Ultimate Web Throw. So like the reward for landing this is really good because it's a anti-air grab. Spider-Man will chuck a bunch of webs in the air, and if he grabs an airborne opponent, he slams him into the ground for unscaled damage. And then after that hit, he's free to get a free combo after the fact. You can just web zip toward the opponent and then go for whatever you want. But obviously the hard part is just landing it. It's easier to land on incoming. There are a bunch of setups that Spider-Man has. He'll like go for Spider Sting, and then he'll like intentionally drop the combo midway through so that he can go reset the opponent into Ultimate Web Throw. And it's very easy to land on bigger characters like Hulk or Haggar. Either way, it's obviously going to be like very tricky to like go for this super, but the reward is usually worth it because the damage is really good, especially for like a single hit. All right, on the Storm. Honestly, I think Lightning Storm's a pretty whatever super. She just encircles herself in a bunch of lightning, and it does like pretty whatever damage, if I'm being honest. You can mash her for more hits, and you can do it in the air, which is nice. This is a good way for her to end air combos. But DHCing after this super in the air is pretty difficult. And yeah, I just don't think the damage is like substantial enough to really warrant going for this super all the time. It is pretty famously outclassed in this game by Hailstorm. And Hailstorm is a very easy A rank, potentially S rank super. It's potentially an S rank super. The only thing that's holding it back is the startup, because this super is very, very slow, but when it's out, it does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage on hit and a lot of damage on block. Storm just summons a bunch of hailstones toward the opponent. As long as she already activated it beforehand, the hail's gonna come towards you regardless. Just the amount of damage this does to assists is reason enough to keep Storm on your team. And the synergy the super has with Team Supers is also reason enough to have Storm on your team. You could have any character do any basic air combo, and as long as you have at least 2 bars, you can do THC. The THC version of Hailstorm does not have the long startup that the regular version does. This super just kills assists. You could like call out Doom assist, hit it, X Factor, do another Hailstorm, and Doom's gone. Like, period. He's not there anymore. So I think this super is a fantastic call out tool. Elemental Rage is a super you never really see. This super was honestly more common in vanilla because this was a popular super to set up the DHC glitch back then. Nowadays it's kind of whatever. Storm summoned an ice pillar in front of her, and depending on the button she presses, she can actually set up the ice pillar in like 4 different areas. But if the ice pillar hits them, it goes into a little cinematic where it brings them towards Storm, and she just hits them for like a bunch of damage. Like, I think it does like comparable damage to Lightning Storm, maybe a little bit more. It does hit off the ground, and it is way faster than Hailstorm. So in scenarios in which she knocks the opponent down but doesn't have enough time to go into Hailstorm, then I guess Elemental Rage would be your next best bet. But I honestly feel like it would just be better to like go for Oki at that point if she knows she's not going to kill on that hit, because the damage from this super really isn't like that spectacular. I mean, it's a fine super. Like I said, it was much better in vanilla when it set up the DHC glitch. In this game, it's kind of just there. It's fine. Storm is mostly carried from Hailstorm in this game. Skrull Torch is a super you more see on accident than intentionally, I think. It's just a really, really boring super, and it doesn't really do anything. Skrull just like twirls himself up and lunges forward toward the opponent, and you can steer where he goes by going up or down on the stick. The damage isn't like incredible. It's got decent corner carry, I guess. I feel like this super usually only comes out when the person playing Skrull doesn't realize what side of the screen they're going to be on after they do Meteor Smash, and when they want to do his other super, they might instead get Skrull Torch, and they have to very quickly try to like keep the opponent intact during the super. And it can be actually really easy to lose the opponent in between hits of the super, because they're not as like locked in as you would want them to be. Kind of have to like wiggle the stick up and down over and over again just to like make sure they stay within the combo. I mean, it's not like horrible, but I don't think it's doing anything really. Certainly not in comparison to like Inferno. This super is hella basic, but it's also very good. It's functionally very similar to a Supernova in that, you know, Skrull just surrounds himself in a big fireball and just does a bunch of damage. And that's like the big selling point of the super, is that it just does a shit ton of damage. It feels like it's one of the highest damage level ones in the game, or at the very least, like the base damage just feels higher than other level ones in the game. And there's really not much more to it than that. Just like Nova, if you X Factor before the last hit, the opponent is left in like a sliding knockdown, and you can just like get another OTG into another Inferno and get much more damage. They're the exact same super. They're both very good. Death Penalty is a pretty unique super. Basically, Skrull will launch into the air, and he will track wherever the opponent is, lay on top of them, and do a big cinematic. Not only does the super track where the opponent is, it also hits off the ground. So Skrull can actually squeeze a little more damage at the end of a combo by doing like a light tenderizer. You can actually link 5L after the fact, normally just to like reset the opponent or to set up chip kill with Inferno after the fact. But if you land the super raw, the 5L can actually combo and go into like 5M and 5S, and you can get like a very tiny air combo after the fact. Fun fact, in vanilla, the super didn't track the opponent. You actually had to like hit 2 different attack buttons to like change its where it landed. Like light and medium, medium heavy, light and heavy chose where the distance was. And for ultimate, they just made it like, track the opponent, which I think is way better. There's not much more to the super other than that, other than it just looks really cool. And it's a useful move to tack on at the end of a combo. Taskmaster's Legion Arrows. I'm gonna throw this in A, actually. It's really not that spectacular, but it does have a lot of utility. So the main thing about the super is that Taskmaster can throw it in 3 different ways, on the ground and in the air. It does light. If he hits light and medium at the same time, he throws the arrows, a bunch of arrows straight ahead. If he does light and heavy at the same time, he throws the arrows at an angle, like a 45-degree angle. And if he does medium heavy, he throws the arrows straight up on the ground or straight down in the air. All the arrows are capable of hitting the opponent off the ground, regardless of version, but he throws a lot of them, which means they can go through a lot of other projectiles in the game and just put up with a lot of what other opponents will throw at him. Taskmaster also has a way of like juggling 2 of these supers in one combo if he sets it up right. Like if he corners the opponent, he can do like a low angled Legion Arrow, and then he has enough time to do like a Tiger Knee vertically down Legion Arrow. But most of the time, this super really is just a combo ender or chip, depending on the matchup. As basic as this super is, it does a lot and doesn't really need to do much more than that. Aegis Counter is another really kind of whatever counter super. It only counters off of physical hits, but I think the reward, besides damage, isn't really that great. He just slashes you a bunch of times and then shoots you in the back of the head, which looks really cool. I think you can combo after this super. Like you might be able to do like a web swing into like a heavy arrow, and if you have an assist, you might be able to get a conversion off of that. But otherwise, it's really hard to like land the super period, let alone like, you know, do anything afterwards. I mean, you could always like DHC after, but you know, you're usually not landing this super. You'd rather just like, you know, go for a Legion Arrow or try to do like, you know, double Legion Arrow. So Thor with Mighty Tornado. This super is fine. Is that, no, actually, you know what? This super is pretty alright. So Thor will surround himself with a bunch of tornado and does a bunch of hits. You can match for more hits. Does decent damage. The interesting thing about this super is how like if you X Factor cancel this move before the final hit, the opponent is left to slowly fall towards the ground. Slower than like even like Skrull or Nova. Like if they land on the ground, they're gonna like fall out and the combo's over. But before they land, they're basically in like a really, really slow freefall, giving Thor enough time to like go for like a heavy fireball forward and get some good damage, and then just go for another level 1 afterwards. Because otherwise it's kind of a fine level 1 for him. At least it's pretty easy to land and you can do it in the air. But that slow fall is really cool to have for him. Unlike this super, Mighty Thunder, this is just like a Timu version of Magnetic Shockwave. This is literally, like, it functionally is the exact same move as Magnetic Shockwave, just worse in every regard. It's a heck of a lot slower, and I don't think it does as much damage. It hits off the ground, but it's still very slow. So even in situations where you would like want to use this super, it's still not like very vital to go for, but whatever. You know, this super really isn't that useful unless you're like trying to close out a chip kill in like a very edge case scenario. Mighty Punish is a cool super though. This is a command grab super where Thor just grabs the opponent, chucks him into the air, and then slams it back down with Mjolnir. This super is also like completely invincible for the first few frames, so you could use this as like a decent reversal option. There's also some like weird DHC synergy you can do with this super, where like you could have a character knock the opponent up in a particular fashion with their super, DHC into Mighty Punish with it, and then like go for maybe some like Mighty Sparks, or do whatever you want with Thor. This super is mostly useful as like an invincible wake up tool, or like, you know, a call out. One of my favorite use for it is actually doing his Mighty Speech, like his 2-2-H, right in front of an opponent's face, and then immediately going for Mighty Punish. It works 100% of the time on someone who's never seen it before, and it's very funny. Logan, Zucker Barrage X. I think B is a good spot for it. He just slashes the screen a whole bunch. Doesn't do as much damage as his other level 1, but so the super is more preferable in certain DHCs, especially like the opponent's a little further away. but otherwise it's okay. You know, it doesn't really do much more beyond that. Fatal Claw is a pretty good super. I think I'll throw this in A, actually. I don't know how Wolverine is doing this super at all. Like, I don't know how he's conjuring up this weird projectile, but, I mean, it is both ground and air okay. At certain heights, he can actually, like, link a DP into another Fatal Claw, which is damage optimal for his solo combos. It's not consistent, and that changes depending on, like, the route and your opponent. But if you can get that link, it's very useful to have. I think it's a good super. Berserker Charge is also another A super. This is just an install where Wolverine just gets faster. That's all it does. It just makes all of his normals and specials and his movement way faster than before. And that stacks with X Factor. So if you have a Wolverine that's in like level 2 or 3 X Factor in Berserker Charge, they can just fly across the screen. They're going to constantly cross you up. They're going to constantly go for close circle back lights and dive kicks just to stay on top of you. And it's very, very difficult to deal with. Due to the speed boost in conjunction with X Factor, it's just a very, very potent install to deal with. You can try to like time it out or just like keep away from him, but Wolverine does a really good job of like sticking with you, that it can be a real bother to deal with. Weapon X is an okay level 3. I think the startup is a little slow. At least Wolverine, like after any ground bounce from dive kick into Weapon X, and that should combo most of the time. And it does pretty good damage. I think the knockdown it gives you lets Wolverine always be able to dash up and go for 3M. I mean, if he wants to X Factor that to get a kill, he can, assuming the hit stun decay isn't like super high at that point. But it's got a good invincibility. It is mostly combo ender though. It is all it's mostly used for. Alright, we're at the final character, Laura, and her rage trigger. She just kind of like lunges forward and then ends in an uppercut. This is mostly just a combo ender for X-23, but there's not really much to the super other than that. It can catch assists, which is nice. Occasionally you'll see X-23 players just kind of like throw the super out if an assist is on screen. And if it hits both their opponent and the assist, that's a very easy way for X-23 to just like X Factor and then like kill both characters right away. It's mostly just combo under super. Weapon X Prime is mostly utility. It's got very slow startup, but if you manage to blow through an opponent's projectile, X-23 goes into the cinematic where she just like claws the hell out of the opponent. It doesn't really do much else besides that. I don't think the damage is... I think it's less damage than Rage Trigger. You're not going to be able to combo into this super without like an assist. If the opponent does throw out something unsafe, then that's good that you can land it. But I feel like her mobility is good enough that she can just kind of stay in the air with her like her dive kicks and her crap like that. But it's good that she has it. It's not useless, but I don't think it's amazing. And here we have her level 3 Silent Kill. This is a pretty dangerous level 3 to deal with, actually. So the thing about this super is that the Laura turns completely invisible, and during that time frame, if she hits S at any point, if she's close to the opponent, she does an unblockable attack that will cut to this little cinematic screen and do a shit ton of damage. So getting that set up is the most important part of playing this character. I would say that like this super is the main reason that X-23 is played as an anchor primarily in this game, where you get a kill, X-23 will do Silent Kill, and then on the opponent's incoming, because it's unblockable, they're not safe against it. Even though on incoming you're usually safe from like throws, that doesn't matter if they're getting hit with an unblockable attack. So she hits you with Silent Kill, and does a bunch of damage, and then that just leaves the opponent in a hard knockdown state where she can get a charged ankle breaker, and then X Factor that, and then X Factor loop, and kill the opponent from there. It is a very, very difficult sequence to deal with. You can also combo into it, and the reward on hit is incredible. The install doesn't last super long. It's only like a few seconds, but when it lands, it lands, and it's usually... it's hard to come back from that if you get hit from this super. After that, it's usually just X-23's game, especially in X Factor. And that's my list. Like I said, these lists aren't, or these tiers aren't ordered. I feel pretty solid about like these placements as they are. It's nice to just kind of like compare and contrast these supers like this. You know, I think about a game like Dragon Ball and how like most supers in that game are pretty homogenized in that most of them are just like combo enders. And that works for that game. That works really well for that game. But, you know, it's interesting to have a versus game like this where, you know, every character has their own reason for using or not using certain supers. And it's just neat kind of like comparing and contrasting what makes certain ones, you know, godlike, or what makes certain ones like, you know, kind of ass. This is a fun experience. I mean, shit, if you made it this far, then good on you. Because my voice is not used to talking this much. I mean, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say about any of this. If you disagreed with any of these placements, that's cool. I'm not a professional at this game. I just kind of like hitting the lab and seeing what works and what doesn't. Feel free to discuss whatever you want in the comments. If you think that, you know, Nemesis level 3 is actually should be in B tier or in D tier, you can die on that hill. I'm not gonna chase you, but like I think I'm good with this list, but I'm done. it's way too late. I'm good. All right, have a good one. I'm going to sleep.